another classic. I love that pick. No, God.
Hello everyone, we're here in another edition with the Ring of Honor Shoot Interview Series. We're joined by CM Punk and classic Colt Cabana, and these guys can just start off from where you met.
Where did we meet?
It was a glorious day.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Okay, well, I assume that I saw Punk before, and this is, I had been training at the Domain. He had been, well, you had been training.
I started in like October of...
It had been
98?
98, yeah.
October 98. I got hurt. I started working shows like right away with the Domain because I was doing shows before I went to the Domain. It was like fucking backyard crap. And I went to the Domain to get trained. I started in October. I somehow hurt my back really bad. I chalk it up to not being an athlete at all. And I hurt myself, and I couldn't train for like a couple months. So I didn't even bother coming in. And the next time I did come in,
But I had seen you before.
I met Doug Collins.
Okay. At this point, I was in college in 98, and then 98 to 99, and then that summer I was planning to join. I think through Adrian Lynch was my first contact to the Domain, and I had contacted him, and then that summer I was going to start training, and I'd showed up like 3 hours before practice just because I wanted to be there so bad, and if I went too late, like I'd hit traffic. So instead of going after traffic and being 10 minutes late, I would go before traffic and be like 2 hours early, and I'd just sit outside. And I once saw Punk there, and I saw this guy outside the training center, and like really scraggly tattoos, like really dirty looking, and I was like, oh, gotta be a wrestler. But he was like with this really hot girl, and and I didn't understand it, like, cause she looked like a college chick, you know. I was like, oh wow, that could be mine, but I guess this is how you gotta look to get these kind of girls. And then that was my first impression of Punk. And then so what's
your first impression of me is I'm dirty, but I get hot girls?
That's the way it's got to be.
It's pretty accurate.
Not like dirty in like bath sense, but just like.
But let's be honest.
Well, later I learned that it would be in bath sense, but at that point it was just punk rock, tattoos. My vision. He didn't give a shit about life. He was. He was from an alley in the south side of Chicago, right? And so,
I guess.
And so then I started training, and then Punk had gotten injured.
I got injured, yeah. But I mean, the first time I really remember meeting you was I was walking in, and I remember a ridiculous conversation ensuing. Who are you? Punk. Who are you? Oh, Scott. Oh. And he always wore the same, it wasn't the same shirt, but it was what I thought was the same shirt to practice every day. It was a Doug Collins basketball camp t-shirt. And every single day, but he probably had like 18 of the t-shirts because he financed Doug Collins' Porsche going to his basketball camps, apparently.
It did nothing for me, too.
Clearly, because you're a wrestler now, not a basketball player. But yeah, so we met sometime, like what, I don't know, April-ish?
Yes,
beginning of 99, so the Colt Cabana CM Punk Express has been going strong for over 6 years.
But at that point, it seemed like that we were the only, and why we clicked so well and came together is that there was just, in these wrestling camps, I was going to wrestle, figure everyone, I was coming straight out of college football, I figure everyone was a model athlete, 6'3", chiseled, like, this is going to be the roughest, part of my life, and it was hard, but that, everyone's going to be ready, it was just, a bunch of fat guys, a bunch of old people, and like, me and Punk were like the only two young kids that obviously had grown up loving wrestling, and like, really, really like loved being there, and were coordinated, and if we weren't taught we knew what a clothesline was before, Danny or Ace going, put your hand out, the guy will go down, because we knew what a clothesline was or a headlock takeover. So I think that's how like the mesh really started. Is we both were two young kids loving wrestling. We were like the only ones, so that were like normal. There's a lot of young kids, but they were all like 17 and
But around that time, I'm thinking about the time frame. It was 98, 99. Everybody was into wrestling because of the NWO or Steve Austin.
Right.
So it was like everybody who came into the domain, who's your favorite wrestler? Why do you want to be a wrestler? Fucking Steve Austin. What I was saying, Roddy Piper, and he's saying Don Morocco. So yeah, I mean, I guess in a sense. At that time, about as old school as you can get, because we'd just been fans all our lives, and everybody else was just in it because wrestling was having this huge boom. So, and we were working places because of people who were training at the domain that also ran shows in like Wisconsin. Like the first guy I worked for was like Rockin' Randy. We were both goons. Pantyhose on our head, and like just a ripped denim, like sleeveless vest that was interchangeable. Like everybody who came through the domain was a goon. There was a cast of characters that came to the domain. Like he says, we were the youngest guys. There was Ricky Noga, who was an older dude. He was already like 30. Yeah, he's like 30 years old, working like a construction job or something like that.
Looked like he was 16 though.
Yeah, because he's Polynesian or something. He was very Steamboat-esque. So there's Ricky Noga, and he was older. There's
Black Dagger was older at the time.
The Black Dagger, who was the whitest man I've ever met in my entire life.
Wow, was he white? But he was black.
Of course, Brutal Brad, as he's known as Brad Bradley now.
Brad Bacon, he was known as.
He actually started a week before me. Which, if you know anything, that's kind of sad, Brad. But he's doing a lot better now. Yes. He got sick for a long time. He had like a really bad thyroid problem, which leads to some hilarious stories, which we will, I'm sure, tell. I remember one time tagging with Brad. I think it might have been before I met you.
Okay.
It was me and Brad as goons against Rockin' Randy and Eric Freedom of Midwest Wrestling fame. And Eric Freedom did this hippie gimmick. I mean, he thought I was dirty, dude.
Yeah. Oh.
Eric Freedom, dirty beard, long. Picture like Jimmy Garvin after like an all-night bender and he didn't shower for like 2 weeks. Like just looks like he's got like a thick layer of just cooked grease all over him. He would throw Fruit Loops at the fans, and like he was like this happy hippie guy, and he smelled like hot garbage. We're working this tag, and I literally start putting some heat on one of them, and I reached over to tag Brad, and Brad is, honest to God, on the turnbuckle, snoring, honest to God, because his thyroid was so like out of control, like he would just crash, and like he, I don't know if it was just whatever, but Brad's retarded.
And okay, so and I was telling, and I didn't know this was thyroid, but I think Punk chalked it up, and we were talking about it the other day. Is my second match ever was for Rockin' Randy, and it was against Tough Tom. And Tough Tom was the Disorderly Conduct, who were on Saturday night then.
Texas Hangman.
Well, they had the long
purple,
the onesie, but like didn't have like the trunks. It was just like a one long thing, and exposed a lot. Like you see a lot of angles there, and so. Tough Tom, to me, I was like, I'm fighting Tough Tom. Like, my second match is awesome. And I'm really marking out and, like, hoping to actually learn something. Everyone said at that time, when you wrestle these guys, you'll learn something. I really didn't know what that meant, but I just knew I'd learn something. Later you find out, how you learn stuff and when you wrestle these guys. But I was so happy. I was doing the goon gimmick. It was my second match for Randy in Whitewater, Wisconsin. I think we drew like 10 people. And so we did the goon, and Brad was goon. So he's like, hey, Brad, go out and be a second. You guys can do like a Killer Bee spot. So I'm in there. The first match, Tom's getting the best of me.
Wait, who'd you tag with? Oh, it was
I was tagging with Brad.
It's a singles match.
Yeah,
okay,
singles match.
But Brad was ringside with you.
Establishing the goons.
Us goons are so interchangeable.
Exactly. So Tom's getting the best of me. We were gonna wrestle. 10 minutes or so. Tom's getting the best of me. Hits me with something. He goes to jazz to the crowd. I roll out. Brad rolls in. And, as we got about 8 minutes left, And the first 1 minute, Tom picks him up, body slams him. 1, 2, 3. He doesn't kick out, and it just ruins my match. Like, I had 1 minute, and I was so excited to wrestle. I was remembering all my stuff, and I guess he fell asleep in the count, or he didn't.
To me, this is going to be one of those stories that maybe somebody at home doesn't really think is all that hilarious, but I really think you got to think about it. Second match, his second match ever at this point, right? He gets to work a guy who's fairly, he's a name. He's working for WCW. He's doing 2 gimmicks in WCW, so he's worked all over the world, Puerto Rico, this, that. Like Tough Tom was.
In the Midwest, like
he was like undercover. He's undercover legend, like
in the Midwest.
Tough Tom was like a hell of a worker, and everybody knew it, and he was kind of like the underrated guy. That, Tough Tom, you're gonna have a great match, blah blah blah. So he's in there, he's all excited. He wrestles him for a minute.
Not even.
Rolls out. Tough Tom body slams Brad, does the obligatory, he probably didn't even hook his leg.
No, I don't think so.
So what does Brad do? Brad rolls in, gets body slammed, and pinned. Holy shit!
Ruins it. I don't know how he blamed it on somebody. It's like, it wasn't his fault, of course, right?
You blame him.
It
was an eclipse of the sun, No, Brad would, seriously, he was like narcoleptic. He would just fall asleep. Because his body would just crash, I don't know, look up thyroid, Google it, and find out, but I don't know the medical specifics, but it messed up Brad. He got, rail thin, and just, I think it was because his metabolism was so accelerated, and if he didn't, constantly eat, he's like the Flash, if any comic book nerds out there, Flash's got to eat some candy bars, every 5 minutes,
I don't know anything about that.
I'm a nerd.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's okay.
But that can segue into our Rock and Randy Ace story.
Was it the same show?
No, but it was Whitewater, the next month at Whitewater.
Okay, the next month at Whitewater, our monthly Whitewater shows. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, if you think Colt Cabana and I haven't paid our dues, I really wish we would have videotaped a lot of the stuff that we went through, because we used to get to the Domain, which was on Irving Park, and I keep doing that. In Chicago. Irving Park, it's a 2-lane street. Park a truck, blocking traffic pretty much for a good hour and a half. Take the ring down, load the truck, drive it to Whitewater, Wisconsin, unload it, set it up, wrestle, take it down, put it back in the truck, drive it back to the Domain, and then have to unload it and then put it back up for training the next day, And
I would drive my car to Randy's, which is drive my car 40 minutes to Randy's, only to come back past my house to go to the Domain with Randy.
Just absolutely ridiculous. They were literally there were some 28-hour days,
right.
And obviously it made us appreciate what we have now, but, that's what you got to do when you start. So we were all excited just to have the opportunity to wrestle. I think I wrestled Pierce on this show. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was my big break. Randy was going to, I wasn't going to be a goon that day, unless I wrestled as a goon already, and he was like, just go out there and be Punk. No one will know, except I got obvious tattoos and that, whatever. I wrestled Pierce maybe, I don't know. Pierce was instructing me in the back and giving me some pointers, and I don't even remember what the match was, but Randy and Ace were on opposite sides.
The big match was 4-way. 4-on-4, because I was in it. Mm-hmm. And then my parents had driven 2 hours, we're videotaping it, and I'll tell that story. And I was in there with 8-Ball of DOA. I was pretty excited. And again,
once again, this guy working names left and right.
And not to mention, I wrestled King Kong Bundy through Randy. That was my third match.
You dropped that name. Here, hang on. Put that back there.
He was managed by Bobby Heenan and tagged with Big John Studd, who I never met. So anyways, I was...
Thanks.
More names.
Thanks.
So I was wrestling 8-Ball, and I was in the first 4-on-4. I was in the first spot, and within literally 13 seconds of the match, I got jobbed out. And you hear my mom going, why is he leaving? What's going on? Why did he lose? And my dad's going, he's filming me
over the ruckus crowd of 6 people.
Yeah, he's filming me leave into the end. He's like, I guess he's gonna pay his dues. I don't know. And my mom's, what's going on? Why everyone's wrestling? He's not wrestling. And so that was, and then in that match was Ace on one side and Randy on the other.
I don't know. Ace and Randy, I guess, had this simmering heat. They would bicker back and forth, and then blah, blah, blah. Ace would talk shit about Randy. Randy would talk shit about Ace. Well, it exploded in Whitewater, ladies and gentlemen. And I saw it all go down. They were brawling on the floor, and Ace, like, they're going back and forth, and then Randy thinks Ace is no-selling him, and Ace is trying to look strong, blah, blah, blah. And then Randy grabs Ace and DDTs him on the floor, to which Ace no-sells, and they start rolling around, and it's like a high school fight, you know. And I looked at Pierce and I was like, should we go break it up? And Pierce, fuck no, dude, this is awesome. So like Pierce just runs out there and just stands there like he's trying to get people to like back away. So he's trying to get people to not break it up. He just wants to see the fight. And Pierce just basically rolls them into the locker room and like closes the door, and then they proceed to like fight. And yeah, it didn't turn into so much of a fist fight as it turned into like this hilarious war of words where Randy would go, Ace, nobody likes you, and Ace would be like, you're old and stupid, you know, like, and, yeah, and you know, I was just sitting there watching, going, well, I guess I'm not going to work for Randy anymore. You know, like we're two young guys who we appreciated the work and stuff like that, and you know, but Randy was really cool, and like I'm pretty sure Ace split right away after that, and then Randy was like, don't worry about it, you know, you're good guys, you just got to get away from Danny and Ace because they're bad, and trying to tell us to get away from Danny and Ace, and we were just kind of like stuck in the middle. But looking back on it, like Randy really could have flexed and, you know, been like, I'm not going to use you guys anymore. Sure. But on the other hand, his entire card was made up of domain guys. It's like, you know, so I don't know, what was he going to do, you know? And the same match I talked about earlier, where I was tagging with Brad, where he decided to fall asleep on the turnbuckle. Randy.
This is the Wisconsin territory.
Yeah, Randy. It was the first time I met Boogie Woogie. Ooh. I was all stoked. Boogie was awesome. Randy blew out his knee doing a Vader bomb to me, like the Vader splash, like off the second. And Randy's like the smoothest, like Midwestern, like Wisconsin, you know, guy ever. He does the Vader bomb, and I heard his knee, like he bounced to go do it, and his knee like slipped down the rope, like his foot stayed on the rope, and it went down, and I heard his knee pop, and you know, I just saw him, like I'm laying underneath him, I just saw him go, and then he does the Vader bomb, and as he's covering me, it wasn't the finish, he goes all calmly, I blew out my knee. This is the finish. Like, just all calm and, like, you know, collective, and he pinned me, and I, like, rolled out, and he just fucking laid there, and I felt, like, so awful for him, because he just, like, blew his knee out doing a Vader bomb, but, like, I remember him cursing that he couldn't complain about it because it was his ring, whereas if it was somebody else's ring, you could obviously yell at the guy, like, hey, jerk, your ring's the shits, but it was his ring, so. Randy's ring was pretty good, actually.
The Randy stories? What?
I don't know, but as far as me and Cabana like becoming friends and stuff like that, I think it was like it was pretty bitching for me to see. I truly believe that if me and you went to high school together, we probably would have hated each other, or at least I would have hated you.
I've been saying it for 7 years now that you hate me.
There's no way I would. I don't talk to anybody from my high school. I barely talk to people like while I was in high school. I wasn't so much, you know, I wasn't like a big loner or whatever. I had my friends and all that, but it was just, I don't know. High school was just like a means to an end, I suppose. But like, I'm great friends with this guy, and I love all his buddies from high school, and they're all tight and stuff like that. And I just think if I ever met him back in the day, we never would have been friends. But we met.
I was the jock, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
We were all football players.
We met because of wrestling, and it was like I didn't see him as like the jock kid where I probably would have in high school. I just saw him as somebody who loved wrestling like as much as I do. Yeah. You know, and it pretty much blossomed from there. And like I remember me being like super nervous kid, like in the business, not knowing like what to do or how to go about work, and it's like it's pretty nerve-wracking when you first start off, and you know, anybody can tell you, well, this is how you get work. You know, you just got to call a promoter and you say, I'm this, you know, I can come in, I need experience, I want work, blah blah blah, and you know, you just. I think that early in the game, you know, you're like, oh, who's going to use me? Why would somebody use me? And I was always nervous to.
And at the same time, there was a big, you know, Danny and Ace, even though we loved them and they trained us and we thought the world of them and still do. Well, yeah. there was a big harp on your Danny and Ace's guys. We're not going to use you.
Yeah.
That was at that time. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the wrestling business is like whoever you roll with, you're pretty much guilty by association. And whatever. I stand by Ace Steel. He is my boy. But I credit you to. Because I'm pretty sure I piggybacked my way onto that Mid-America Wrestling show, like I was just kind of, I never actively sought work because I was like almost too nervous to do it, like too afraid. Randy would just say, you're booked, or Danny and Ace would go, come with us, you're booked. I remember one time going up and working, it was tagged, like they would bring their students up and they would say, hey, let's work our students, we'll put on a good match for you. It was me and Ricky Noga against Danny and Ace in Racine, Wisconsin, maybe somewhere in Racine, I don't know. And it was one of my first matches, and I got jean shorts and a wife beater on, and I came out wearing the skull cap, and I was all, whatever. And Ricky Noga's got gear, and he's got the Ricky Steamboat headband, and he's tan, and he looks good, and I look like shit. I just remember I'm supposed to be a babyface, but everyone's not buying it. I'm slapping hands, and everyone's just like, "Oh, look at this fucking."
Straight out of wrestling school.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I can only assume.
Come on, yeah. You can only assume how many times I said, "Come on, baby," and just like his first impression of me was probably these people's first impression of me, and the people were just booing me and blah blah blah. And I remember this one guy, he had Oshkosh Bagosh overalls on, nothing underneath, started yelling at me, and he's and I was babyface, so I couldn't say anything back. I was just kind of like, yeah, come on, baby. And as he was yelling at me, his glass eye fell out of his head. And like we're making the way around the ring. We're like, come on, baby, slapping hands, and Ricky Noga trails off, and I just stopped, and I was like, and the guy, calm as hell, nonchalantly, picked it up, blew on it, put it back in his head. You suck, and I was weirded out for the rest of the match. Creeped me out.
Before me, right?
Yeah, a little bit before you. I mean, because I remember I got hurt, and then the first time I ever went up and met Randy, I was in no condition to work because my back was hurt, but it was like a come on up, meet him, and blah blah blah. And I met Randy, and I was like, I'm hurt, but I want to work, and this and this and that. Oh, can you work? Can the kid work? Well, he's new. He can do this and this and that. Blah blah blah. I put you with Bambino, good old Dino Bambino. And so Randy was like, well, can you help me out today? And so I helped try to put up the ring, even though my back was a shambles. And then I remember doing security for him, where I absolutely beat the living crap out of this one guy. And I think that's why Randy had always liked me, is because there's this little stage, and it's a VFW hall where everybody's just getting tanked. It was like the thing to do. I think all the kids and
see wrestling, get drunk.
I mean, everybody in the town would just go, because there were such small towns in Wisconsin, would just go get plastered at the wrestling shows. And I don't know how it started 6, 7 years ago, but the one guy tried to start something, and I was on like this little riser, like for a drum set, like just standing there, like doing security, and he tried to go after Lynch or something. I don't know what happened, and he swung at me, and I socked him in the face, and he went down, and his hand was on the riser, and I remember just the scene in Bloodsport where
get the leg,
where he does the kick, and you get the view of he does the evil split. He does the evil stomp onto his leg, and he's like, oh, ah. Well, I totally did that to this guy's hand, and he comes up like Tote at the end of Indiana Jones when he just burned the medallion into his hand, and he comes up going, ah, looking at his hand, and it was crooked, and I broke his fingers, and he just and then he fell over, and then I gave him the same stomp right to the balls, because it's crowd control, people. If there's one thing I know from getting into fights and stuff like that, if there's a whole bunch of angry drunks, you got to dispatch the first one in the most brutal way you possibly can to discourage anybody else from trying to fight you. And it worked. And I just remember the guy limping out, and me feeling real bad because I stomped him with the same vigor that I stomped his nuts with the same force and vigor that I stomped his hand with, and I saw what his hand looked like. Can't imagine what his testicles, I could have seriously hurt the guy, but Randy loved it. you're a shit kicker.
No, what do you call you?
You're a scrapper.
Yeah.
It was some ridiculous, thing. So that's why Randy always loved me. I can only assume,
And those were our first work days.
I went from there to Carmine DeSpirito and Mid-America Wrestling, and I remember feeling bad because you hooked the whole thing up, and I think I just piggybacked with you.
Well, I had seen Carmine as a mark. I went to his show, and I loved it. Like, I thought he ran a great show. I think I was 17 in high school, and so I knew that. And was Pierce there? No, he hadn't been there at the time. But you knew, like, you saw it was a good wrestling show as opposed to, I went to some indie shows and I saw some bad wrestling, and this is some good stuff. Yeah, Pierce was there because he wrestled.
He had to have been there. Billy Joe
St. Holmes. Yeah, he wrestled Derek St. Holmes on the one show I saw. And so I wanted to go work for him, and so I was in Michigan at the time, but what's Vanderpelt? What was his name? Movie Marty. I was making a movie, hence Movie Marty.
What was our tag name?
The hot stuff.
The Lover Boys.
The hot people.
The Lover Boys, wasn't it?
It was something.
It was something real awful.
We're gonna tag, and so he was making this movie, which he spent like all this money on the PWG belts, which then he sold on eBay after.
Yeah. By the way, we're gonna jump around a lot.
Yeah.
That hasn't been discussed yet.
So and so he was going to make a movie, so I was like, sweet, I'm going to make a movie. And so then I was like, well, while we're going to go to Wisconsin, like, Carmine had a show, and it was a perfect opportunity, because Danny Dominion said he was looking for people, and I thought it was going to be a really hard show. Now looking back on it, probably anybody could be on his shows.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I was always meek and like, oh, why would I, blah, blah, blah. Looking back on it now, like, geez, like,
buy him a beer, give him $20, and
yeah, and you're on the show. Like, but back then it seemed like trying to get into Oxford or Yale or something. Like, it just seemed impossible.
So we hooked it up, and I was like, hey, you want to? And at that point, I think I might have said a statement where, like, I saw Pierce, and I was a big kind of mark for, I hadn't seen a lot of indie wrestling, but I was a big mark how, like, Reckless Youth and Quack and these guys, and then Super 8 was just started or whatever, and I was a big mark for seeing them in the magazines. Obviously you'd see Hogan, and, LT was wrestling Bam Bam, but then you'd see these guys who weren't in the big show, but were in these magazines, and obviously, it always mesmerized me how awesome it was that these, not like lower, but lower fed guys or indie guys were trying to make a name for themselves, and they weren't in the big show, but they were getting press, and and that always mesmerized me.
Yeah,
and
being in a magazine was like tough back then.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and like that was, and I couldn't believe it. And I saw, I see their pictures. Wow, look, that's something I know I could do. I'd like to start there before I go to WWF or whatever. And they were wrestling all over the place, and you see, and then Pierce was a Midwest guy who wrestled all over the place. So it was kind of like, well, Pierce wrestled in Milwaukee, and later, we knew Pierce wrestled down south for Ian, and later we would go there. And so it was like, I was like, Punk, let's work every weekend, anywhere we can. Who cares where it is?
Right.
We'll drive. We'll find somebody to drive us, who we'll get to later. And so that was where, and this was kind of the first that we'd done Randy's. Okay, now we're gonna put Carmine on our once a month place, and later go other places. So now we're at Carmine's,
right?
And we'd done the show, and I guess I'd hooked up. I was, hey, I'm gonna wrestle with Punk. We'll be the opener or whatever. He was like, cool, blah blah blah, and then.
Well, from working at the Domain with each other, I think it was like Ace would roll in like a half hour, 45 minutes late, and like just so we weren't just sitting around not doing anything. Like everybody else would get to the Domain, like say practice was supposed to start at 7, everybody would show up at 7. Me and Cabana would have been there for a half hour already. So we had boots laced, ready to roll at 7. After a while, like Ace got sick of it, like everybody pretty much showing up late, so he would show up later and later and later. So me and him,
I think I got a key in there.
you got a key, and then we just started going in there like whenever we could and doing stuff. So Ace would show up and he would sit there and we'd watch the stuff we were doing in the ring, and it's like almost like you don't want to try stuff in front of your trainers at first because it might be kind of embarrassing. But when it was me and him alone, we'd go buck wild, like, oh, let's try this. And I remember trying moonsaults for the first time and like all this stuff, and it was just we're the only ones who actively would do spots in the ring, and I remember Ace would tell us to do a spot just to see if we could do it, and we would do it. So he would try to make it more difficult and this and this and that. So I think you got it hooked up with Carmine, and Carmine was like, well, who can you work? And then you were like, well, you know, and you know, obviously, and then it pretty much just like went from there, except the fact that I guess Carmine liked me,
and I wrestled too much like Danny Dominion.
Is that what he said?
He goes, I don't want another Dominion. So I was
so random. I think it's once again like, and you know, like, I mean, I look like crap. If Cabana actually brought pictures.
Yeah.
If there was ever an embarrassing picture of me, I'm sure it's in here.
Which one is it?
I don't know. I just want people to see like how awful my body was. And like, it's amazing to me now. Like,
you want to show them Stinky Freedom?
Oh yeah, yeah. Here, you know what? You grab that one.
There, I saw it.
Was it?
Yeah.
We'll try to show you some pictures right now detailing the past. There's you and Bundy.
Yeah, that was my third match.
What, should I just hold it up here?
Yeah, just hold it up for a little bit.
Okay.
Tell me when it's good.
Me and Bundy.
Good?
Bundy. Can you see me? There's Goon Squad. And then there's Big Brad right there. Alright? We got that. Boom. We're trying to fight. Here's my first match against Doink. That was my first match ever. Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Excellent. Alright. I'm just dropping. We'll pick them up later.
Yeah. Okay.
You got one of you?
I don't know.
This was one of our first ones that it's a good sunny day. We don't want that.
It's a good what?
Alright, here's me in college. Got that?
Who is that?
Me in college, right? And my college buddy is Matt Capitelli, Tough Enough 3-winner. So, there's that.
The aforementioned stinky Eric Freedom.
But I guess he shaved that day. He's been known to have a dirty...
Imagine like a dirty ass beard with like mealworms in it.
Jimmy Garvin is...
I mean, come on, that's
set.
Jimmy Garvin. Like, yeah.
When he had that beard. So I can't find pictures of your awesome body.
Yeah, my tremendous body.
So...
Here's more Goon Squad. Is this you? This has got to be you.
Yeah, that was me running out.
If I recognize anybody in the crowd, I'll shit myself. More Goon Squad, Colt Cabana. You get the gist of the outfit, which was just absolutely ridiculous. The panty on the head, to me, was simply amazing. And it doesn't get any better than that.
That's kind of... You started working out there.
Yeah. This is West Allis, Wisconsin. The famous Mid-America wrestling shows would take place here every month. This was one of our, this is when Cabana started working for him regularly.
That's when I got the call back.
It was about a year after our first match there. Like, I really wish we had like, is that, because that's even later,
Yeah,
but that's like how awful.
Later.
But that, should I show it how awful?
Show that? That's,
Well, I think I look terrible in this picture, but this is once again years later. So imagine how bad I looked when I first started.
And then
Harley Race, the legend.
There's Harley Race, our referee. And a story about Harley Race is when we're in the back and we're going over what's going on, and he was telling me, he's like, all right, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna hook you, then I'm gonna punch you, and then Punk's gonna, that Punk was gonna come and get me behind.
I was gonna give you a German.
A German suplex. He punched me on the German. So in the back he goes, BAM! And it was the hardest fucking punch I ever felt. And I was like, and I knew what, smartly not going, Harley, you hit me, what, ow. I was like, yes, sir, that sounds great, thank you. And it fucking killed. It fucking killed. And then out there, I think because I didn't say that, it was the lightest thing I ever felt in the ring when he did it. So.
Yeah, that was the night I had just bought my brand new 2001 Monte Carlo. I think I bought it like August 10th. I remember, I might have drove it down to Ian's when we did that big 8-man with Scorpio, and then like a couple weekends later, it was me and him for the Mid-America heavyweight title, with Harley as the ref. Harley gets so blitzed at the after party.
Mind you, Ace is feeding him shots left and right.
Oh, fans were buying. I mean, you're Harley Race and buy you shots, blah blah blah. So Ace is like, hey, can you give Harley a ride back to the hotel? I was like, yeah, no problem, dude. It's Harley Race. Like, I just was marking out. Awesome, right? So Ace jumps in the back seat. Harley's riding shotgun. Right before we get in the car, Harley does one of these drunken warbles and then stops himself, on my car, and then lets go this great burp. That there had to be some vomit up there, you know. And I looked at him, but then I never fear. That's Harley Race, man. He can hold his alcohol, sure, right?
He knows the score.
We get in the car. He starts burping again, and I'm nervously looking, like, oh my God, what is going on? And then Harley proceeds to start vomiting. But he's Harley Race. He's probably had a bender or two in his life. He's probably thrown up in many a car. He's not spraying it like all over my car. No, because that would not be old school enough. He's throwing up in his mouth and then spitting it out the window, which is making this noise haunts me to this day. He would throw up, and he had the window all the way down, and he would. And I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? And he's just going. And I just see Ace in the rearview mirror. Ace is freaking out. He's beat red. His eyes are all bugging out of his head. He's got to cover up his mouth so he doesn't laugh. So I start to pull over, and Harley chokes down puke. Think about that. He swallowed it and goes, keep driving. We don't want to alert the authorities. Oh, shit. So I just keep driving, and he's... I mean, just, you know, and about 90% of the vomit went out of the car. About a good 10% went in, and you know, it was like all sprayed, like all over. Like, yeah.
We just worked right the month before we did 60-minute match. Then we did this one, and I was so pissed at you that I wasn't pissed at you because he took home Harley or whatever, and I wanted to be in that car so bad. Like after he told me the story, I was so upset that I didn't go. Then after this awesome story,
you would have gotten vomited out.
That was fine with me. Harley Race could.
Because yeah, we got Harley to the hotel, and I'll never forget, like, Harley, can you ever forgive me, my friend, for throwing up in your new car? And I was just like, sure, Harley. Yeah. And he gave me like a little, you know, like respect knuckles, like, all right, kid, I'll see you later. And like he'd start walking away, and we were like, Harley, the elevator's over here, and he'd turn around and walk in. And me and Ace just got in the car and just bust out laughing. You know, next day I took my car to the car wash and ran it through the car wash, and some kid came up to me and he was like, man, I was scrubbing the side of your door for 15 minutes. This shit wouldn't come off. What was that? So you a wrestling fan, kid? Yeah. You know who Harley Race is? Yeah. Well, that was his puke. Handed the kid like $5, and the kid just stood there like, what? And I jumped in the car and drove away. So my car got christened by it was 7-8-time world champion Harley Race. Awesome stuff.
Okay. And so from Milwaukee, we started our St. Paul trips.
Did we start going to St. Paul or Ian's more regularly?
St. Paul, because when Ian wanted us to date, we'd have to take St. Paul first.
I always hear about St. Paul from Danny and Ace, obviously, about how you got to be a worker to go up there, and everybody's got a body, and you're not ready yet. So that was always my big goal. I was told I wasn't ready, so I was like, oh, I got to get ready for St. Paul. You know, and we were both kind of just like thrown into the fire. Like we got taken up there one time, and Ace couldn't.
It was St. Paul Championship Wrestling,
right?
And it was, I think, the biggest indie in the Midwest because of Ace, Danny, and Pierce, and Quinn. And yeah, so it was like I listened on the net. I remember it was a big deal like that, like Midwest Renegade Wrestling or something. It was like
but then
Ian's. But you know, but it was a big deal to be. It was a good promotion. You wanted, just like Reckless and Quack or whatever had, you know, made their name in like PCW or ECWA or whatever. Like this was kind of like, you know, making well, at least that's what was going through my mind.
Yeah, no, totally. It got built up huge to me. Like I was like, wow, St. Paul. So when we finally went up there, like the road trips were just hilarious. Like probably the funniest times I've ever had in my entire life. You know, I mean, a bunch of grown men. You know, I mean, we would get like one of those big 15-passenger vans, and it would be me, Cabana, Ace, Danny, Ricky Noga, Black Dagger, Derek St. And we'd stop off in Wisconsin and pick up Derek St. Holmes. Sometimes Brad did the trips. Pierce. That's 9 guys and gear. You know, so that's like, I mean, it was just, and it's ridiculous. I'll be damned if anybody fell asleep first, because they would just be crucified. I got put in like I think I worked Ace for like and it wound up being like a light heavyweight title tournament or something like that. And it turned out like Ace couldn't be at the next show because I think, wasn't it him and Danny were doing the NWA 51st?
Oh, was that what it was?
I think. Maybe. They were doing
or Elliot's brother's wedding.
something. Ace couldn't be there, so they were originally obviously going to put the belt on Ace, like the light heavyweight strap.
Oh, that was the month before I went.
It wound up being I wound up working Ace, and like they're like, we're gonna put the belt on you, and I was just like, wow. And to me, it wasn't so much like, cool, I got a belt. It was like, well, I got this belt, so that means I get steady work now. That means every month I got to be on the shows, you know. And it totally like broke me out of my shell where I was all shy and stuff like that before, because now I had this belt, so I was cutting promos and it was on TV, you know. And if you ask like a lot of the young guys that started off in Minnesota, like Sean Davari, Austin Aries, a lot of those guys, you know, it sounds weird, but would watch me and Cabana on TV, you know, like
it was proper TV. It was WB or something.
Yeah, it was like straight. It's not like every indie guy says, you know, every indie promoter says, oh, we got TV, blah blah blah. This is real TV. Yeah. You know, sponsors and the whole deal. So like, I remember Davari, you know, putting up rings. He wasn't even working on shows yet. He was training for like 2 weeks, you know.
He was like 14.
Yeah,
He was
14. He's like 120 pounds, you know.
And I think he like he mass emailed out his website or something. Sorry to punk you out, Davari. He had a
Devastation.
Yeah. And so like, and then you'd go, okay, you know, I'm sitting at college bored in the computer lab, and you know, I'll look at the fuck this guy, you know, he's his first match, and he's like mass emailing everybody, like look at it, and he's 16 and he's a pube, and he's like, the pube means you're fucking a tiny little kid. And then also next time we, you know, and you know, email Punk, I have a laugh at this guy or whatever, or did you see this fucking dude? And then all of a sudden we see him putting up the rings, and we're like. And you know, but like, and it turns out he's like an awesome guy, and you know, we're all friends with him.
And now he's rich.
Yes.
So who's laughing now?
We're scrapping for you to buy this shoot interview so I can eat dinner. So we had TV, and then okay, well then I'd like to go into where Danny and Ace go to a wedding. And Pierce is the babysitter now, okay? So Pierce is the babysitter, and our after shows were always at BW3s. And at the time, I'm in college, and it sucked because it's a 7-hour drive, Chicago to Minnesota, and I would be coming from Kalamazoo, Michigan, so it ended up being a 10-hour drive for me every month. And so I was at college, and a lot of stupid college stuff was going on, and I had some tricks that I pulled out that, you know, I was going to impress everybody, like, look at my cool tricks, we'll all get a laugh, because we're looking for laughs on the road. That was the big thing, you know.
And this is the first time we're unsupervised. Pierce was no babysitter at all. This is the first time we were without Danny or Ace, you know, to where we were in a comfortable setting. Like when we did the first Mid-America show, Danny and Ace weren't there, but we were new, so we weren't, you know, going to go all crazy and stuff like that, and we didn't know, you know, to rib and all this other stuff. So it's like we were already over in St. Paul. We'd already worked there a bunch of times, and we were already really super comfortable with everything. Right. You know, we were like all-stars. So without Danny and Ace, we're gonna cause some trouble, so, you know.
And me and Punk aren't drinking. We, you know, I think everyone else was probably hammed up, but you know, we weren't drinkers. So we you know, Diet Cokes and styrofoam cups, and one of my new tricks was I would poke out the bottom, right, of this styrofoam cup, take it out, and what I'd do is I'd unzip my pants, and I'd get a straw, I'd put that in first, and then I would put my ball sack through the bottom of the cup, and
what's that called?
And it would be called a ball cocktail.
Ball cocktail.
And what I did is I'm doing this with this unzipped, and I got the cup here, and I put the straw in.
So it looks natural. Like, you know, he's just kind of sitting there,
out.
Especially if you're sitting down, you know, you're just like that.
And then I think I'm telling, you know, you guys, but before that I go, you know, check this out. And then, you know, I show them, they're all laughing. And then I ask the waitress, I go, can I get a refill, please? And she goes, what you got? I go, a ball cocktail. And she's like, what do you mean? I go, just a ball cocktail. And she looks in there, and it's like the puzzled look on her face. And then she realized it's my testicles in a cup, and then all of a sudden we all start doing ball cocktails.
Yeah.
Pierce was in love with it. He couldn't wait to put his balls in a
Pierce,
cup.
like me and you were like all incognito, like ball cocktail. I think Pierce just whipped his nuts out. We're like, dude, look at my nuts, you know? Like Pierce is always just trying to one-up you, you know? So we're all running around like pretty much half naked, and I start dancing on top of a table.
Well, The cops, or is this after?
Yeah, this is after, but like,
I'm sorry.
it's once it all starts hanging out, like,
Okay.
literally, it's, ball cocktail. I'm on the table. I take the shirt off. I'm doing like stripper stuff. I'm getting dollars, so I'm like, oh, this is awesome,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And Buffalo Wild Wings had 2 entrances that were right across from each other. And I remember seeing like the police start walking in the one entrance, and me just grabbing Cabana and going, "We're leaving," and like walking out the other entrance, and just like getting in the car and like kind of sitting there until like I think Pierce came out, or I don't know. But
I was spooked. I was like, I'm not moving. Like, we're staying here. Like, I'm not getting arrested. This is crazy. And,
not the first time the cops were called on me, but I think the first time
Cops were called on
in the wrestling business the cops were called on me.
I wasn't familiar with this.
Yeah.
Except in high school when I got caught for having a hot dog and bologna fight in our cars.
It's a lot different than actually having
Yes.
your hot dog and bologna hanging out. So, we could have gotten arrested for like, public indecency or whatever.
That's what they said. So they said, like, later we asked someone else, like, I think we came in, we turned the hat around, maybe put on a different shirt. I don't know. But they were like, yeah, so, the cops were calling for public indecency or something. Like, that was a legit call.
So it got back to Danny and Ace. I don't think Danny heard about it right away, but I think Ed Hellier, the promoter, like found out about it eventually and like really yelled at Danny. He was real mad because we could have lost sponsors. Why are these kids walking around this public restaurant with their balls hanging out? Like all this ridiculous stuff. And I remember Danny telling me when he found out, like he called up Ace and he's like, I tried to be mad, He's like, but I called up Ace and I was like, did you hear what these guys did? And I guess Ace knew, but he had to play dumb because he didn't, he was supposed to be mad at us. I don't know. So, what? He walked around with their balls in a cup, and they both just started laughing on the phone, like, how ridiculous is this? Like, how can we be mad at these guys? Like,
Taught him well.
ball cocktail, yeah, So they were like all impressed.
And the other thing was like there was soup cocktail where you get a bowl and you gotta flip them in there. There was like a bunch of cocktails. Like
There's lots of nut humor. There's the gum.
I'm sorry, ball soup.
Gum on the shorts.
Gum on the shorts.
Gum on the shorts.
It's humor. You get, I guess that's you put your balls up, above your cock and in your belt, and then you lift your shirt. Like I go to everyone at work or whatever. We do go to these guys. Dude, you got me hard in the stomach tonight. You got me hard in the stomach. Like fucking right. Like really. Like I think. Like is it, like I think you popped out a tumor, and then you're really scared, and then you lift up your shirt and there's your balls.
Didn't somebody poke it once?
And then cash flow.
Cash flow.
Not to me though. Was it Hero or?
Everybody would be doing it because it was like the smoothest thing ever. Like Cabana, he introduced that and he introduced the Gold Bond, which invented the Gold Bond Mafia.
Yes.
And it was the smoothest thing ever. So like everybody's trying to do it, and I think Hero does it to Cash Flow. Like, oh dude, look at this. I think I'm hurt. You think this is serious? What is this? And Cash Flow's all like, yo man, everybody look at this. What is that? And he started fucking poking it like. That's nice. Yeah, he touched the Hero's balls.
Excellent.
Working for Ian, we met Chucky Smooth.
Yes.
I think Dave Prazak was pretty instrumental in getting us both booked for IWA. I remember you booked first, of course, and then I rode your coattails to IWA. Right?
Yeah, I always remember that. I think, but I always appreciated that. I think he liked you, and Dave was like, we got me, Trailer Park Kid, and maybe you were working at the time too. And like there was one more room. There was another one room, and you were like, like I'm in Mid-American, go take it. And I remember you did that too, and I was always appreciative for that.
Right. There was like one more spot in the car, and it was like Prazak, I guess, was trying to get me booked, and I was like once again felt bad for him doing all the legwork to get us booked for Mid-America, and me pretty much getting the spot, and him not. So I said, go do IWA, blah blah blah. But then he would put me over to Ian.
Right.
Yeah, me and Punk are gonna have these great matches, blah blah blah. And he got me in, and that's when we pretty much just started feuding all over the country. It was like we did the thing in Mid-America. We'd be wrestling here and there on Randy shows, and then we right off the bat we're like feuding in IWA, kind of formed like the Gold Bond Mafia. But like when we would get booked for like Cleveland All Pro or like places in Detroit, Norm Connors, stuff like that, it was out because we were the only ones who were actively going, we want to work for you, we're going to email you, we're going to call you, and we're going to send you tape.
We put on a good match.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh, because since we were the only two doing it, it was, oh, okay, well, can you two work each other? Well, of course, you know, and that's how the series of matches happen. You know, we've wrestled each other everywhere. I mean, it's how we started in Ring of Honor. You know, how do you bring these guys in? We came in working each other. You know. What's some good Gold Bond Mafia stories?
Well, did you tell how the Gold Bond Mafia started?
No, dude.
It was a Comic-Con. Like, you never done it on any... Okay. And, so, at this point, I guess we're all getting maybe a little too cocky for our own good. And, you know, we're... the Comic-Con's in Illinois, and this time we're doing Gold Bond Mafia. And Gold Bond was another college thing where my roommate would put Gold Bond on his nuts, and it would make it tingle, and it was like the greatest feeling ever. And no one knew it, though. You know, I was so scared to do it. He's like... Gotta do it, and I did it, and I was like, wow. And then we go on road trips in Minnesota and be like, everybody, hands out. We used to do it, and everyone, you know, Pierce thought it was the biggest rib in the world, and then afterwards he's like, the tingling sensation, oh, excellent. And so then finally, you know, we'd be bringing Gold Bond, hey, everybody Gold Bond, and everybody bond up, and then we were doing Ian's shows, and then we did like a Friday, Saturday Ian show, and then we did a Sunday. We wanted to get up to the Comic-Con because Punk wanted to go to the comic convention, and Chucky wanted to go.
Well, it was more of like because didn't we do like we did some insane schedule where it was like we did Friday, Saturday.
I know we didn't sleep in order to get to.
No, not at all. We did we did 3 shows in like 3 days, and then
Maybe
Sunday.
we did Minnesota Friday.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was like it was like Minnesota, like all the way down to Ian's, and then like all the way back up for the Comic-Con.
We started at 2,
and it was
Ian's got done at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, and it was more or less, for me at least, like I just wanted to get into the Comic-Con for free. You know, like I'll be damned if I'm going to pay that much money.
Right.
You know, one of my first jobs was working at a comic shop, and so like I wanted to, you know, go do the thing there at the comic shop and blah blah blah. So we showed up, and there was a guy named Tim Lyle, was it?
But Chucky used to. Here's us in IWA. Here's Chucky, and then this was a stripper chick. This is kind of the Gold Bond Mafia here. And this was us down in IWA. And Chucky used to work for Tim Lyle. Like, we didn't know Chucky, and we met him. We all, you know, he came from here, we came from here. We met down at IWA, and he used to work for Tim Lyle. So he's like, hey, I can get you guys on the Comic-Con, you know, if you want to work it. And it was all just, you know, a bunch of, and probably Jimmy Jacobs was probably on the show.
Oh, I'm sure. I remember Quackenbush was there.
Yeah.
Because he did some movie about like comic book characters or crime fighters or something like that. It was the first time we'd ever met Quack.
Right.
And I remember being like excited, and we were supposed to work him. Like, you know, because it was like Comic-Con, it was almost like an attraction. It was like wrestling every 15 minutes. There's just match after match after match. There's like 87 matches, right? So we got there, and we were talking like, oh, I was going to work this kid, and then Cabana was going to work this guy, and then we were going to do this match, and blah, blah, blah. 3 days of like no sleep and like just restlessness, and then finally like.
And again, I think we were a little too cocky for our own bridges.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so we were like, well, we kind of run the show here. And
yeah, so we were like, well, we want to work that guy, you know, and like Tim Lyle was probably like, who the fuck do these guys think they are, you know, blah blah blah. I think, what is it? I worked Chucky.
Yes, because I worked after you guys, and he was all worried, and I had like a regular match. But he worked Chucky.
Me and Chucky didn't have so much of a regular match.
No, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life at that time. And I don't know how you want to like.
Prazak was the manager. This is how the Gold Bond Mafia, I guess, formed. You know,
Right.
because Prazak had the Gold Bond powder, and we just specifically were going to work towards a spot where Prazak would literally throw the entire bottle of powder and like just.
With the spots in that match.
Oh, the spots were
Duck
brilliant.
an elbow, duck a clothesline, duck an elbow, duck a clothesline, duck an elbow, duck a clothesline. And they went, and then there was no serious spots in that match.
No, not at all.
What, do you remember any of the silly like?
We did midget spots where Chucky would like bite my ass, and I would tell the ref, and then, you know, eventually he bit the ref's ass. And we did like, you know, Chucky would cover me, and I would kick him out, and the ref would grab him and throw him back on me. We did like midget spots, and like, you know, we did that spot where like duck my elbow, duck my clothesline, and like we just kept going and kept going, and finally we're both got our hands on our knees, and we're tired, and we look up at each other, and we like do the double eye poke, you know, and then the double clothesline, and like, yeah, and it was like, then he would hit a stunner, and like, I mean, it was just.
So Lyle was hot at this point.
Yeah, so we made a mockery. I think that was Lyle's quote, was you made a mockery of the business. And my attitude at that point was like, fuck you, dude, we're at a Comic-Con, you know, like I haven't slept in 3 days, you know, like whatever. I just wanted to have fun, and like, you know, I think we weren't going to get paid, and like.
And so then Trailer Park Kid came in. he started getting the best of you. I came in, beat him down, and then it was me, you, Chucky, and Prazak, and then we started douching him with Gold Bond powder, and then we started doing the can in the middle of the ring, like with the Gold Bond powder going up, and then Chucky Smooth's like, I think he, because he used to be in a what was his fake rap group called? It was
I don't know.
This is something Mafia. It was pretty sweet. Like we always, and he I know he came out. He's like Gold Bond Mafia, man. Like we're the Mafia, and we were the fucking Gold Bond Mafia after that. And then,
We were the hottest thing ever. Here's a couple pictures of me, Chucky, and Cabana at the Comic-Con. It's, of course, us with a stormtrooper.
Any picture opportunity, not serious, like.
Yeah. Then us with some of the X-Men.
And I had no clue who those guys. Like,
Yeah.
I think I saw the furry guy or someone else. Like, dude, that furry guy. We gotta get
And then probably one of my favorite pictures that captures the friendship of a Colt Cabana and CM Punk, and of course Scooby-Doo.
And look how young we are too.
Yeah.
I guess we're not that young. You probably look more. You look younger than me.
I look like shit.
Well.
Yeah.
You got this one? We on? Alright, so here's the Mafia. And then in this other picture of Mafia we got here.
Okay, so that's the Gold Bond Mafia. That's the original Mafia, the ones that I think Adam Pearce worked his way into it, because let's face it, Pearce knew a good thing when he saw it. The other unofficial member of the Gold Bond Mafia, of course, if you asked any of us, she was not a member, but to her, this is her world. I couldn't even tell you her real fucking name. She is the Bikini Girl.
Bikini Girl.
That is strictly what we called her.
And when we first saw her, I'll be honest, me and Chucky Smooth were like, wow, this chick's totally hot, And, we'll tell the story how we eventually went, we spent years with her, and at the end, she was the ugliest, most disgusting girl of all time. I was grossed out by it.
Hated her.
Everything that was about her was disgusting. But now, the fact that this proved the difference between some of the young guys growing up and some of the guys, we understood the work of it, how it's a work, how it's a business. And we got this girl every single week with her family van, to drive us 300 miles every week and not putting 1 mile on our car, and us knowing that, trying to not pay for gas as much as we could. And she wanted to train, maybe we got her in the ring once and made sure to hurt her so she'd be out another 2 months, but she'd still be with us because she was dedicated. And
the point is, and this is gonna sound real degrading, but most women in the business are rats. And that's a hard fact of life that you eventually realize. And it was she got in the business, and at the time she was like, oh, I want to be a wrestler and I want to train. I never saw her get in the ring.
Right.
It just never happened. And when we did get in the ring, all it took was a good forearm shot, and then that was it.
Yeah.
She was done. So we always kind of kept her in check, but she would be Bikini Girl. She would wear bikini and walk around the ring when the show started and take people's ring jackets and,
we'd
sunglasses.
make sure that there was a spot for her, or
Yeah.
not a spot, but just whatever, so she could drive us and no one would be putting miles on our cars.
No miles on our cars, no
Right.
gas out of our pocket, you know what I'm saying? Because it was we weren't getting paid more than, sometimes 30, 40,
Right.
$50 from Ian and stuff like that. And we certainly weren't getting trans.
Right.
So it was always just me, Chucky, Cabana, Prazak, maybe occasionally somebody else. But we'd always fill up that bikini van,
Yeah.
and drive it down. And how many tickets would she get? None of us would ever drive, oh, can one of you guys drive? No, I'm really tired. I just got off of work. That was the thing where maybe somebody, a bunch of other young guys would probably just try to gangbang her, and that's the last you'd see of her. We tried to get blood from that stone, and we squeezed her for everything she was worth, And
She'd always have snacks for us too.
yeah, because she was one of these girls who her aspiration in life was to have a kid. She wanted to be a mom, so she thought she was kind of the den mother, and we let her fucking believe that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Evil, blah blah blah, and we would just randomly try to get her booked on shows whenever we could, just so we wouldn't have to to drive. You know?
Ian, man, at that point, sometimes we're going out 3 times a week because the goal was to work every weekend, and when
No matter where, no matter how far.
Ian worked at the time. Ian was booking Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then he'd just go to Saturdays. So if there was no Saturday, you know, if we weren't doing St. Paul, if we weren't doing Detroit, whatever, we go to Ian's. You know, if we weren't, and then when we start getting some of these AWA shows, and then I got right. Are we ready to segue here?
Segue to the AWA, fake Dale Gagne. This dude called himself Dale Gagne. His real name's Dale Gagner. Great worker though, great businessman. Would book these sold shows for like casinos and Indian reservations and stuff like that. When he would try to book like 5 guys, and the only way you'd really get booked is if you did a double gimmick. So you would like Ace would wrestle as Ace Steel, Danny Dominion would wrestle as Danny Dominion and the Patriot. Ace would do Super Dolphin, where he'd wear like Hardy Boy pants and like a Super Dolphin hood. You know, like there would always be somebody. Somebody would be a Doink, somebody would be a Golga. Of course, me and Cabana never stooped so low to be a Doink or a Golga. And
we wanted to. I desperately wanted to do Conquistadors with him.
Yes, Conquistadors was a money gimmick.
And then eventually, and then that was before like New York's WWE started like putting the Conquistadors back. Like, you know, it was like cool to remember, like, you know, how like, because it wouldn't be mean to like, you know, John Tent. Like everyone was doing Golga or whatever. But, you know, like, who fucking, you know, Conquistadors, rock and roll, that's double hood, let's do it. Yeah. And then Eric Priest eventually bought it. But we would be on the shows, so like, we weren't on like all these shows, but when...
I don't know, when we got booked, it was
we
like...
got booked on shows.
Free school day.
It was.
Nobody understands it.
So, okay, so we did one show with and then we'll go to the Michigan shot, but the one with
Upper Peninsula
with Sheik Adnan Casey, whatever. I have an accent now. He was on the show, and he didn't give a fuck, whatever. Yeah, and they were turning him. He was going to be a babyface this night. And
is that a carnival, by the way?
Carnival in Minnesota, and he was going to be a babyface. And we worked the night before, and we did like everyone did a singles, and we did a big tag, and he was our manager. I was all happy about him being the manager. And right, and then I think we ribbed Danny Dominion. He came out to Popeye the Sailor Man. I remember that. But what was it like? We got in there, we did a couple arm drags, and he's like, "Take this fucker home."
Yeah, like so he threw him out. Ace threw somebody out of the ring to get some heat, and dude, he's loud as shit. He hits him with the sword one time. Boom, that's enough. Let's go home. Yeah. Like, you know, every time the heel would throw the babyface out, so Adnan could get some heat, he wouldn't even do anything to him. He'd just pick him back up and throw him into the ring because he wanted nothing to do with it. He just wanted to go home.
So smooth. The next night he's on the show, and Dale gets him. We're gonna make him babyface, you know. And I remember he came out. Justin Roberts, who's not a WWE announcer, he was the announcer and the sound man, and he's all bragging to me. He's like, you know, Cabana, I got him coming out. You know, Big Pimpin'. He's gonna come out to Big Pimpin' by Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Where it's like dun 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 dun, dun and then that, yeah. In the beginning, because he had Iron Sheik coming out that too, or I guess it's kind of Arabian, I guess.
Yeah, that I guess that whistle part, that's real that's real Middle Eastern.
And so he comes out, and they have. Do we show this first or?
Well, the shows. Go ahead and show them. I'll talk for a second. The shows were at a carnival, so they had like a petting zoo, right? So like after me and Cabana worked and watched the debauchery of the Sheik coming out and trying to start a USA chant, we'd walk around the carnival, and we found the camel. Obviously. So we go running back, and I grab the Sheik. I go, Sheik, there's a fucking camel. You gotta come out with the camel. Are you fucking kidding me? I can't get on my hip. I fall and I break my fucking hip. You know, blah 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 blah. So he goes out to the ring and tries to start a USA chant. I don't know, no rhythm or what, but this is the exact chant. Cabana.
USA, 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 USA.
He was just randomly saying the 3 letters, like it was no USA.
No.
Like people would try to catch on to what he was doing, and people would be going, USA, and he's got the sword, and he's got the, you know, like that. Who's this guy thinking he's gonna be a babyface, you know? And I remember Ace working Skinny Doink. You remember Skinny Doink?
Yeah, Marty.
This dude, this random dude who looked like a janitor somewhere. Like he was just skinny. He looked like Iggy Pop, like he was on heroin, you know, just real thin. You could see his bones and his veins. That was it. And I remember sitting in the locker room. Who did I work? Maybe Noga.
I don't know. We worked each other.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
I was heel, I think.
Yeah, you did the Colton.
No, that was up in Michigan.
No, well, whatever.
I remember we worked, I think.
I'm sick of working here.
Yeah, you said.
So, I just remember adding on, going, "Hey, Steele, you do work the doink, Marty. This is a Steele. If you cannot have a good match with a Steele, I cut my dick off." Like Sheik was just such an outrageous character. Like the stuff that came out of his mouth was just priceless. I loved it. The best Dale Gagner show we ever did was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Big 15-passenger van. Me, Cabana, Ace, Danny, Noga, Butch McLean, Big Butch McLean. It was, I don't know.
This was the first weekend of college was starting, so I got picked up on the way up because it was through Michigan. I remember that. So like I didn't even get to go to the first party, and I didn't.
Priest was there.
Yeah, this. I didn't even need a college party because this weekend was unbelievable.
This weekend was absolutely sensory overload.
Yeah.
It was the show was at a casino, and we stayed at this cottage type place. It wasn't like your normal hotel. It was like outdoor like cottages, like so when you drove down the street, there was like the rooms of the doors of the rooms were on the outside. It wasn't like you're indoors. So we got a strip of rooms, and they were all next to each other. And the first night we got there. We got there the night before our first show. So we got there and we checked into our rooms, and I don't remember who was staying with who, but it was just like we just got there and we were restless, and we were at a casino, so it was like we got to go out to the casino, blah blah blah.
I could tell how the slips at the counter.
Oh, okay. Clearly, okay. That's how I made my money that weekend. So we check into the hotel, and of course there's two girls at the front desk, so we're working them for stuff like that. The deal would be one person would talk to the girls and just kind of distract them, and the other person would pretty much just take everything that wasn't tied down. That's how me and Cabana would work. You still have the toaster in your apartment, yeah. I remember
four-way toaster.
I remember them having the free continental breakfast, and I remember just taking all the bagels,
Yeah, like a Santa Claus sack.
Yeah, just all of them. You know what I'm saying? Everyone else be damned. We got into a bagel fight that weekend, of course, because we can only eat so many bagels. The rest just got thrown at each other. The chronological order of all the debauchery I will not remember, but I will remember one. I think the first night,
we went to check in the hotel. There were slips. If you stayed there, you got one slip. The people at the hotel were supposed to give you one slip, and you fill it out, and you get $5 voucher for the casino. I took the whole book. Yes.
Okay. I took the whole book, and you were supposed to have the manager's initials or stuff like that. But I was like, well, how legit?
Sure.
Whatever. So as everyone else was getting dressed up to go to the casino or whatever, showering and getting, I sat in the hotel room and filled out every single one to where Cabana had a stack, I had a stack, and in the casino there was 3 different stations you can go to. So
every 10 minutes
I would go to the one station and I'd get my $5, and it was cash. It wasn't like a chip. It was $5 cash. Hooray, $5. I would immediately walk to the next station. Bam, bam. So I just got $15. 15 minutes later, switch shirts with Cabana, turn your hat back around. You just go up there. Use an accent, whatever. I did this until the entire book was gone or whatever. I made a good, seriously, I remember Dominion, how you guys doing? I'm $30 up. And I was like, I got $180. And he's like, holy shit, what did you play? I was like, I didn't play nothing. I'm doing these slips,
It's the best game in the casino.
Yeah, it's the greatest rib ever. Hey, everyone else is getting drunk and losing all their money, and we were just scoring with these stupid slips, So, our first night, we made some good cash. We didn't even wrestle yet. So we got back to the room. Nobody wants to sleep.
Everybody's
everybody's getting drunk. Was me and you in a room? Noga, the important thing was Noga and Butch McClain were in one room, and they're laying on the bed. So I get this idea to crawl through the ceiling and to do something to them. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just know it's...
Our room's here, their room is here.
I just know
the wall.
it's pretty funny if somebody crawls through a ceiling to do anything to somebody else. So I filled up the ice buckets with water, and did Ace help us? Ace boosted me up there and handed me the water, and your job was to you just kind of walked into the room and got him in a specific spot for me to like just bomb him with this water. So like Cabana's in there and I'm crawling on the ceiling, and it's straight up Breakfast Club where I'm Bender and I'm crawling on this ceiling, and it's like a drop ceiling. I gotta make sure what I'm putting my weight on is sturdy, and then I'm like sliding the things on, and Ace has got my feet the whole time just in case like I fall, you know. So finally I like get my car keys and I dig the corkboard gimmick and I slide it over just a little bit, and I see where they're just Butch McClain just laid out on the bed, and Cabana's in the door of the hotel. Yeah, so what's up, guys? And Butch McClain's all like, nothing.
Butch McClain is 6'8", used to play at Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M. 6'8", 300 pounds, straight up redneck. Didn't like any, you know.
He's big hillbilly.
Yeah, big hillbilly.
And Cabana's got nothing to say to him. He's like, so what are you guys doing? He's like, I'm about to go to sleep. What do you want? You know, Cabana's like, yeah, how about that casino?
Right.
Oh, what are you doing? You know, blah, 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 as I'm maneuvering into place. And just as like I pop the ceiling tile, throw it aside, Butch looks up and he gets like 3 buckets of water like dumped on him. And before like he can even know what happens, Cabana, you know, see you later, like runs out the door, locks the door. I like jump back in the room, and like it was the greatest thing ever. You know, I climbed through the ceiling and dumped water on you. It may seem tame to you, and it's but it was pretty damn funny.
Noga was out that whole night drunk in the streets, I think, chasing after women. The cops were called. And
remember Ace got blitzed and then destroyed all the plastic lawn furniture, and then the cops came. Me and Dominion went to the store to get some food, and when we pulled back up, there was a lone cop car and just shattered plastic furniture all over, and Ace just sitting in the last chair that was left with a beer in his hand, just looking all surly, like this. And I don't even think the cop wanted to fuck with Ace. The cop didn't even want. The cop was just kind of like walking around, like surveying the damage. Like he was called to do something about Ace, and as soon as he saw Ace just sitting there like this, looking around, he didn't do anything. So like we got Ace back in the room and blah blah blah. The next morning,
we were invited to stay another night. Dale was like, if you want to stay another night, you're more than welcome. Like, you don't have to leave.
This is all before we even wrestled.
Yeah.
Which is like the most amazing thing. The wrestling show itself is absolutely ridiculous.
Punk came out to flash dance that night.
Dumped a cup of water on my head and did the run in place, and I had this ridiculous match with Ricky Noga. My friend Colt Cabana here worked the Luminous Warrior.
I got my jaw. Luminous Warrior is just the biggest. Ultimate Warrior times 1.2.
He's like fake Ultimate Warrior, but this guy was so smooth because he was like this big jacked up guy. And I remember our dressing room was like a Winnebago.
Yeah, true.
And I remember us sitting in there and Ace start going on about, hey Punk, how about when we work out at the Belmont Powerhouse and all those Polacks in there don't know how to wear deodorant and they all smell like B.O. and those smelly Polacks and Polak this and Polak that, and gets all quiet, and Luminous Warrior's standing there and he goes, I'm Polish. And Ace just goes, sorry. It's like real uncomfortable because Luminous Warrior could like break Ace in half,
His last name is Jajinski.
Dominion had a field day with that. So yeah,
and then I did a 2-minute match, and I got my jaw like rewired from his clothesline. It was like,
and then I remember commandeering a golf cart and jousting with George the Animal Steel. We were driving this golf cart, and Cabana had an orange cone, and then I convinced George the Animal Steel how great it would be if he rode to the ring on the golf cart. And then after the show, we whizzed around the parking lot with him, and we would randomly drive by each other and hit each other with the orange cones. Bill Eadie was on the show. I remember, driving the golf cart around with Bill Eadie. That was weird.
So by working with Dale, actually, we got to wrestle with a bunch of names. Not wrestle, but be on shows with a bunch of names, because he would always bring in, this was his meal ticket, Iron Sheik, George Steele, and then,
Scrubs.
his other names were, Golga and Kimchi. But
I can get you WWF guys, and then he would bring in like one old school WWF guy like the Sheik. I can get you Golga. I mean, he probably had fake Mankind, fake Kane. Like if it was a hooded gimmick, he would do it.
It was really an inspiration to me because I saw not in WWE, and at this point, the pays were really good. Not good now. It looked bad, but good for
that
first year in the business, second year in the business, whatever. And it was an inspiration, like especially at that point, I'm going to college as a marketing major, where this guy's making money. Like he's making money, and money was to be made if you're not Vince McMahon. And that was kind of my at least my first eye opener that you could actually make money in wrestling. And I wasn't saying I wanted to be a promoter, but you could just see that
the potential was there to be. Like everyone always said, there's only one game in town, but it was like if you played your cards right and you're smart business-wise, you can make some coin.
Business is business.
Yeah.
You got to see the opportunity.
I think we were known for goofing off a lot.
Yeah.
And especially like once we started getting more of a name, and like you said earlier about getting too big for our britches, and like then we would go back and we would do some scrub shows, like these one-shot deals, and we would treat it like totally as a joke, like we were big superstars or something. And we would roll through and like just do whatever we wanted, and this and this and that. I remember, one time in Michigan, we were involved in a big battle royal, and Brian Gorey used to work with the Insane Clown Posse doing the Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Brian Gorey had 4 Doink outfits from the Insane Clowns. So it started off as a total rib to obviously let's have this battle royal and everybody will wear a Doink outfit and then get eliminated and then come back as yourself, whatever. So,
but I had hooked up. I think it was my hookup through Jeff Hill. So he was like really high on me, and I was his champion. So I was kind of like main event guy or whatever. So this is the reason why I couldn't really participate, because I think I was going over the battle royal. It's Colt Cabana. And I was kind of pissed off because I really wanted to participate.
He wanted to be a Doink.
Yes, I did.
But I think I was captain of the Doinks that day, and
and he would just show that, and this is.
You can't beat that right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Here, I try to be happy in this one, but
look at me.
CM Doink.
Look at me. Chuck Smooth was a Doink. I was a Doink. I think Gavin Starr was a Doink.
That was his claim to fame, I think.
Gorgeous Gavin Starr. Gorgeous Gavin Starr's claim to fame was he was...
Sorry to call you out, buddy.
Sorry to call you out, Gavin Starr, but as you once told Ace Steele on a trip to...
No, it was me and Chucky.
Was it you and Chucky?
Me and Chucky. Because his first time to the Sweet Science.
Okay, so you're asking Gavin Starr, like... Well,
Chucky's more berating him, because Chucky's having a great time berating him.
What kind of a wrestler are you? Like, what's your style like? What do you do?
Well, I kind of like Shawn Michaels. More like Shawn Michaels, but with more charisma.
Yeah, Gavin Starr.
That was his quote. I'm like Shawn Michaels with more charisma.
Holy shit.
Yes. And you're a pretty good wrestler.
Who was the 4th Doink?
Gord,
yeah, you're right. And so, like, it was ridiculous. Like, Highlander, this big, gigantic, fat dude, like, came in and clotheslined all 4 Doinks over the top. And then Jimmy Jacobs was on the show, and he...
You did a Doink spot in the ring, though.
We did the whole here, and then, like, 2 Doinks, like, kicked the other 2 in the balls, and then turned to each other and did that, like, it was just ridiculous. I suggest you try to get the tape.
Oh, I don't know if there is a tape. Is there a tape?
I remember watching it on tape. If anybody has it, it's Prazak. I remember Jimmy Jacobs being there, and this was still when I hated his guts and I would torment him, and he just got his nipples pierced, so he made it this big thing to run around the locker room and go, I just got my nipples pierced, don't chop me. So of course I chopped the shit out of him, now what are you gonna do? And anytime anybody asks not to chop you, you chop them. But the time we got kicked out of Canada.
I somehow I befriended this guy named Kevin Harvey, and he was an announcer, and it's so hard for an announcer to do stuff. There's one announcer on these shows. Half the time they don't want to pay you. So like, it's hard for an announcer. He got this good gig in Canada, like, and finally there's this big show. It was like right when Lawler and the Cat kind of got rid from WWE, and right when ECW split. So it was a big show, 1,000 people in Toronto. Lawler, Roadkill, and Doring with those belts they had. It was a bit Carino, and then the Cat, and there might have been somebody else. But
So Harvey got us, me and Punk as the opener on the show, and it was gonna be cool. We're gonna wrestle in a different country. It's gonna be really cool. Even though it's America Junior, but it was my 21st birthday, and we were gonna do Canada and then go down to XICW. And I got that. Are you looking at that picture? Well, whatever. But
which one?
So we go up to Canada. So Punk rents they just came out. What was that car? I remember what it was.
PT Cruiser.
PT Cruiser, and it was because he had this hookup rental, where he can get rentals for really cheap, and so it was all smooth. He was in the PT Cruiser. We meet in Michigan, then we go up to Canada, and we didn't really know the rule. I guess you gotta, you can't work, you need a work permit. We didn't know anything.
I was just gonna go over the border and wrestle. I didn't know.
So, and to this day, I blame you for it.
I blame you.
Well, I'll tell you how I blame you.
Okay.
It's because I had gone to Windsor before, and we just go in, and they're like, "Why are you here?" And we're like, hey, "We're going to party and have a good time." They're like, "Okay." And so we go in, and they're like, "Why?" We go to the border. "Why are you here?" And Kevin Harvey's like, we're gonna go see some casinos.
We formulated a plan. It's Kevin Harvey's fault.
Okay, no,
truthfully, we formulated a plan. Well, we all need to have the same story. We all need to say, And what was the story we came up
We were
with?
in college, right? Or we just?
I thought it was gonna be like charity show, wasn't it?
No.
Or no, we
was after
were training. We were training.
No, we were in college because this is why we were. This is why we were going through the border.
I swear, and this is probably why we got kicked out, because we can't even get our story straight now.
Well, I blamed. If you go through the border and they say no, they take you to the side. The reason I think it was because we said we were college kids, and I was like, no way, look at Punk. He's got tattoos. He doesn't look like a college kid.
Well, we clearly told him three different stories. I figured. I thought I was like, I thought I was Hannibal from the A-Team, and I was like, here's the plan, guys. We're gonna tell them we're training, because if they ask for his gear, let's tell them Jerry Lawler is gonna train us for the day. We're obviously not wrestling. We're not getting paid. We have to pay them because we all had cash on us. We had a flyer for the show that said Jerry Lawler on it. Blah blah blah. And I remember just getting pulled aside. I mean, we got Chicago plates. Kevin Harvey's got a Michigan license. You got a Kalamazoo college license. Whatever. I got a Chicago license. Blah blah blah. And we all get pulled over. And Kevin Harvey's got a tuxedo.
Sharpies.
We got gear. I remember having a hand here. I probably got one in my pocket right now. Multivitamin, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I had we were gonna be gone for like 3 days, so I had 3 of them in my pocket. The lady grabs them and she goes, "What are these?" And I was like, "They're multivitamins." She's like, "I've been taking a multivitamin for 14 years, and mine don't look like this." And I was like, "Oh, well, Jesus Christ, like what? I'm sorry, And then she pulled out a Sharpie from my bag, and she's like, "And what's this for?" For writing, I don't know,
And you had like 40 Sharpies in your bag too, and then they're like, "Was this a Sharpie party?" Or they were really sketched out about the Sharpies.
So
and the vitamins.
the way I'm pretty sure it rolled downhill is you asked me, "What are you here for?" And I said, "I'm here for pro wrestling training." I remember them and Kevin Harvey was sweating bullets, like you think he's smuggling drugs.
He goes, "I'll take care of this." Don't worry, guys.
My friend's getting married, and we're going over to celebrate and go to casinos.
Yeah.
And I was just like, ah. And I remember her pulling out your boots. Yeah. "What are these shiny boots for?" And you going, "We're gonna go clubbing?"
Yeah.
And I just went, "Oh fuck." There's 3 different people.
Sex costumes.
3 different stories. So they took us in this room, and they started, I don't know, processing us or whatever. And I remember you had to piss real bad. We probably all did, but you were the one who asked, "Can I go to the bathroom?" "No." And I was like, "Geez, that was pretty rude." And I was drinking like a Diet Pop or something like that. So I had this empty, and we're waiting around, and I go, "Hey, you got a garbage back there? You throw this out." And the lady looks up and he goes, "Go throw out your garbage in your own country." By this time, we're laughing.
That was it, man.
That's the greatest thing ever, And finally, it was like, "Well, are we in trouble or what? Can we leave?" And
I had 2 fake IDs on me too. Which I know if you live in Canada, it's like you go to jail.
Yeah.
And
you were nervous, and I remember I started fucking talking shit, and you're all like, "Calm down." And then we I had to go throw my garbage out in my own country.
Yeah, they turned us around.
We had to turn around, but the weekend was saved because we went back to Kalamazoo, and there was parties everywhere. So we'd walk into these parties, and even if we didn't know people, it's like we'd walk in and crash the party. And I remember clearing out a frat house of 16 4-cartridge Mach 3 Gillette razors. I cleared out every fucking bathroom that I went into. Like I had Gillette Mach 3s for days.
You know, like what we do at parties is we go to people's rooms and we take them.
We just take their shit.
Like I don't drink, I just stock up everything and
show the picture of us on the golf cart.
Oh, okay.
It was in there.
This was when
I think it was a different show.
That was X Fest in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And then here is. And then the next day we went and did Malcolm Monroe's the junior XICW. Here we're 21. This is my 21st birthday. It was glorious, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was very appropriate that I worked you on your 21st birthday in a bar.
In a bar in front of
in the worst ring ever.
Yeah, everyone has glorious 21st birthdays. That was mine.
Well, speaking of, it's one thing about the wrestling business, obviously, is like, your milestones and important things are pretty much footnotes, and everything takes a backseat to your career. Every Thanksgiving, we would wrestle for Ian. So probably going on 5 years now, I have not been home with my family for Thanksgiving. My family's Cabana, Prazak, and every year, me being the sentimental guy that I am, I would want to take a picture with everybody that we ate Thanksgiving breakfast with. And Thanksgiving breakfast was always at a Cracker Barrel, and we would pull every single busboy and waitress and whoever we could, and we probably got like 5 or 6 Cracker Barrel pictures. Probably the same Cracker Barrel, different people every single time, except for like me and Cabana, Prazak, there's Ace in that one, Chucky, and of course, Bikini Girl, because she thought she was one of us.
She was our chariot. Here's some more stuff. This is Suicide Kid. Me, Punk, and Suicide Kid hanging out. Who, like when you say, we all kind of bit our teeth to get into wrestling. Me, you, BJ, Hero. Suicide Kid was another one, and he got hurt, unfortunately. And I think he'd be in the Ring of Honor rings today, and we would have weaseled him in or something, or whatever. But he would have proved his point, and he would have been right there with us.
Well, Cabana's going to show you that picture, and I'm going to show you this picture of us with hot chicks.
Hot chicks.
Because that's how we roll.
And here's Punk. Me forcing him to do something. Sorry.
What is that? Wow. That hoodie is probably worn by one of Ian's children right now, because I remember leaving it over there one day and I was real pissed, and I'm still mad about it. I want my hoodie back.
Here's more just me and Punk on the road, and this is I think it was like a huge snowstorm in Minnesota, and we said, fuck, let's drive the night before. So we drove, I think it was 11 hours in the car. We got there and the show was canceled, and I was the happiest guy because that Hellier took us out for breakfast. Like, we got free breakfast, and he bought it, and so like,
hey, I feel real bad you guys drove all this way, and I'll take you out for breakfast.
So I got
goddamn right, you're taking us out for breakfast. More hot women.
Hot women.
Because that's how I roll. That's me and my friend, Gorgeous George.
More hot women.
That picture's the greatest. Show that one again, dude. Like, I don't remember who that is. I don't know what's going on with that picture, except clearly my obvious disgust for that woman, whoever she is.
Here's me as a
Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger.
Here's another one of my old friends. Who's that?
Nadia Nice is in there. God, she was good-looking lady, that girl. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Me and hot women. So a lot of the people. Sherry was awesome. She would do Carmine's and Ian's, and she. I mean, like, we got to,
Yeah, Sensational Sherry pinned me a good 3 times. That's good. How about not hot women? What about Kamala Jr. Jr.?
Kamala Jr. Jr. And that's a funny story. And I'd like to tell the Pondo story.
Nate Webb and Madman Pondo right there, and this white kid who wore a Kamala hood, and it was
we gotta tell who Kamala Jr. Kamala Jr. is like this big thing in Indianapolis, and he's like a big joke. I don't know. Is he a big joke? No, he used to promote that. I don't know.
What the fuck do you think?
Well, no, but then, so he wasn't Kamala Jr. He was Kamala Jr. Jr. with a white hood. And then that night, I think we watched. I don't know if it was that night or it was in Indianapolis, and I watched Madman Pondo, and he doesn't drink. But he got nailed this one night, and he cut this awesome. He was gonna do the hardcore stuff. He gets in the ring, no one was there. He's like, I'm gonna kill somebody. I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be the most extreme thing. You're all gonna love it. It's gonna be unbelievable. He goes, but first, I gotta piss. And so he takes either I go with him or there's a camera with him.
There's a camera with him.
And before he does it, he's hammered and he's walking to the out of the armory and and they're showing him taking a piss, going, I'm gonna kill this guy. It's the most extreme thing you've ever seen in your life. And he's like, he's pissing it up. And then that night I think we went to do.
Well, what was the punchline? The punchline was like he was in the ring beating this guy up, and he's all like, I peed and didn't wash my hair.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like.
And it was the greatest thing ever.
Talk about old friends and some good times. Here's some people we came up with. Chris Hero as Winnie the Pooh. Me, looking very skinny and spry, and Ace Steele's head.
That's how you punch that fan.
Which one?
The one. No, Hero punched a fan.
Ah!
Yeah.
It was you and Ace against me and Hero. And it was St. Andrews Hall.
In Detroit.
8 Mile! Ow! 8 Mile! That's where all that 8 Mile shit took place, in that basement.
Really?
Yeah, man. Remember the basement? Remember that club?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. That's 8 Mile.
Damn. Okay.
8 Mile. Ow. 8 Mile. So we're set to work, and I remember me and Hero really healing it up with a group of black guys. And they're all rowdy and they're into it, so we're like, let's pick this corner and we can really work these guys. They look like they're into it. And it wasn't so much that they were smart marks, but they looked like they were into it, have a good time.
Yeah.
They were cheering the baby faces and booing the heels. Well, I got up into one guy's face and I was cross this guardrail, do this, do that, and I'll never forget the guy goes, I'm gonna throw a punch, duck. And I just went, like Scooby-Doo, like, wait, what? And I was like, dude, don't do it. And like, he throws this big, like, fake ass haymaker. It's not a real punch by any means, right? But I like reached up and I grabbed him by the back of the hair, and before I can even like say, oh, you just made the biggest mistake, like in the pocket, here comes Chris Hero. Like, I got the guy and I got his fist up here, and Hero comes through my arms and just boom, socks the guy right in the face. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, and I just react. So I pull the guy like over the rail. All the other guys are like trying to come over. Security's coming over. Hero's like socking people, and it was just like, it just turns into like this big fight. Bam, 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 bam. It's like all over. They all get carted out, and we're all just using it for heel hit. I'm like, that's right. Anybody else that wants a piece, you can step over the guardrail. Come on. And I remember turning around and Ace just standing in the ring, just going, like, what have I created? Like, what the hell?
And at this point, you and Chucky were really known for like fighting people in the crowd.
That was, well, remember, that was I had the fan hat trick. I got the fan fight hat trick.
In different cities.
Well, that was the one in Detroit. There was one in Wisconsin at the Greyhound, the Dairyland Park, where I socked the guy from the Navy, and then I kicked him in the ribs. And he made the coolest noise. It was just like. It was like the greatest thing ever. I kicked him so hard in the ribs. I socked him in the face and he went down, and I punted him in the ribs. And I remember turning around and his two friends were like, whoa, I don't want no trouble. And I turned back around and just started like kicking their friend, you know, like, and Skull Crusher, big 6'8" black man, runs out of and just starts fucking people up. And there was another one.
It was in Milwaukee, I think, for Carmine's, no? That was
Carmine's.
And Chucky was on a midget show and he beat somebody up. I remember that. He beat this old 40-year-old up or something, and Chucky's like 5'7", like 150. I don't know, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it's bad for business.
So, here's another one. This is awesome. We raffled off a lap dance. And this is how dumb we are, because I was thinking about this. This broad, this was pretty cool. Like, we raffled off, and
I believe her name was Back Row Beezy.
Back Row Beezy.
She'd always buy a general admission ticket to Ian shows and sit in the back row.
And he sold, I think, like $200 worth of raffle tickets.
Yeah.
And we were such marks for doing the dance that we didn't even bother to take a cut of it.
Well, and the gimmick was, I remember her spending an entire pay, like she had just got paid.
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday night, she just got paid. And, you know, however much it was, $150, $200 from whatever job she worked.
Right.
She put the entire check towards this lap dance to make sure that she was the name that got picked.
And we did it twice, and the first one I think was Freaks Come Out at Night we danced to.
Yeah.
But the second one was Two Life Crew. What was it?
Welcome to the fuck shop.
Welcome to the fuck shop, and that was always
Big gump. Welcome to the fuck shop. Somebody needs to use that in entrance music. It's so smooth.
that shows how Ian's was how we all learned, but there was so much fun and different memories we have from IWA.
Let's see if you can remember this. This is when Pondo got absolutely shit-faced, and there's Colt Cabana singing karaoke. Worst rendition of what song did you do?
I think Gambler or something.
Oh, you didn't know the words at all. You thought you knew the words,
Sure did.
and shit started scrolling up, and you were just like, what the fuck is this?
I'm the embarrassing guy, and then Punk busted out like the greatest edition of I'm Just a Gigolo, I think.
And I did Roadhouse Blues.
Then you fucked that one up.
Yeah, of course. Traveling through airports is always probably the funnest thing. And Norm Connors, props to Norm for being the first guy to ever buy Cabana myself a plane ticket.
Yeah.
And I remember pretty much, living in like the Pittsburgh airport for a while. Like,
We dogs go to Quiznos after.
Yeah, I always go to staying in the Airport Plaza Hotel, knowing the girls who work there, and getting hooked up on stuff. I remember one time walking through the Pittsburgh airport.
It's just another good time. It's
just randomly walking through the airport, and Cabana, fucking Waldo. And you're like, what? I'm like, where's Waldo? Like the guy in the book. Look, it's him. Here, take a picture for me. And I remember just randomly, now to set the scene, I randomly just run up to this guy, stand next to him, and posed. Ow, I just hurt my elbow. Ah! So this guy has no clue what's going on. Where's Waldo, ladies and gentlemen?
We found him.
I found him.
Fucking
So if you want to know where Waldo, he's at the fucking Pittsburgh airport.
Yes. What other goodies you get?
I got you at a gas station in St. Paul, Minnesota, with a parrot on your shoulder and somebody's thumb, obviously. It's a parrot. When we walked into this gas station, there was like a random guy with a parrot on his shoulder, so we all got to play with the parrot. You and Mixelplick. Oh wait, did you show a picture of the lap dance?
Yeah, there's another one.
Here's another picture of the lap dance. Look how not sexy I am. I'm the whitest man on earth.
All right, here's a picture from Minnesota, and I think this is a good rib story if y'all want to hear it. This is the Mall of America, and we're going through the mall. I think I was really crabby that day for some reason. I was really pissed off, and everyone was having a good time, and I was kind of pissed off, and all of a sudden we saw this, and it was, do you remember the name of the store?
It had to be like Beads Are Us.
Beads Are Us, I think it was. And we concocted this plan. I don't know, I can't take credit for who had the plan or whatever, but somehow, so we set it, and I go in, and Ace and Punk are outside the door of the mall, and a good 20 feet away, both looking, and their gimmick was to look like that's the gimmick, huh? I want to know the answer. And
we sent one person in to find out the answer to our question, and me and Ace were basically sitting there going like this.
I had the most not to crack up, I think. And so I look, and I'm looking around the store, and I make sure to get the girl's attention at the front desk, and I look and I go to ask her a question, and I back off, and we want to get some mileage out of it, and I look, and then I go up to her and I go, and she said, "What's up, honey?"
And he's looking out at us, and we're doing the go. Ask,
do you
ask.
have it? Oh. And I go, Beads Are Us. I go, do you guys sell anal beads? And what? And she's like, well, and I think I said softly, you guys sell anal beads? And she's like, I can't hear you. And I was like, I didn't want to say it, and I played out, do you sell anal beads? And she's like, no. And then that's hilarious. And then the punchline is that I look over them and I go,
and we all hang our heads.
And they hang their heads.
I kicked the flower pot next to me, this lady was just horrified, oh my god.
And I walk out, and that was a big production for
remember the Mall of America, and they had that wrestling stand there? Remember? That sold videotapes. There was a certain wrestling company that had.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You remember talking to the guy who worked there who didn't know we were workers, and so we started asking him every single annoying question in the world. We'd start, hey, we heard we heard the Ultimate Warrior was dead, and the guy'd be like, no, he's still alive. We'd be like, oh, we heard there was 3 Ultimate Warrior, and all this ridiculous stuff, and then he's showing Japanese wrestling on the TV, and we're like, what's this? Oh, it's Japanese wrestling. They have wrestling in Japan, and so we just annoyed the shit out of him and asked him all kinds of fun questions. Fun. That hair is awesome. It's kind of a faded looking picture, but
faded.
Not a steal. That is me.
Punk. And that was when we were doing those dating shows for IWA, and then one of the dating shows was me, Punk, and Eddie Guerrero in front of 30 people.
30 people for Eddie Guerrero.
And I had an asthma attack also.
And Eddie almost beat the tar out of that kid in the crowd.
Yes.
The kid made like some pill comment, and Eddie oh my God, Eddie was like he's so intense. He just stared that kid down. That kid's soul like leapt out of his body.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Yeah, but we also had our silly Iron Man match where we forgot the number of falls. We were pretty sure you were ahead because you were supposed to go over.
Okay.
So we did the obligatory super indy fish out of water spot where, it's like roll up 1, 2, roll up 1, 2, roll up 1, 2. Except every single time he pinned me, I just let the ref count to 3 because we forgot the fall count. So he wound up beating me like 19-7, like something really ridiculous, it's something nobody ever does.
Right, yeah.
So I wanted to do it, You and Short Dog.
Oh, I was some midget. Short Dog, and I'll tell you and supposedly, you see all the people back there, there's like 14,000 people, I guess, at the X Fest. Who's playing Lincoln Park, I think?
I don't know.
Lincoln Park.
Mudvayne.
Yeah, I don't know any of them. But, everyone, I remember it was like Punk got to work Ace, and everyone was working all these guys, and I forgot, I kind of was left out or something, and I kind of was upset, and I wanted to work Kickboxer or something, and Short Dog was there for the midgets, and I was like, I don't want to work fucking Short Dog. And they're like, you serious? I was like, yes. And I go, I'm putting them over. And so
you showed them.
Yeah. And then it's one of my greatest achievements. And the finish was I think Short Dog went through my legs. I throw a clothesline, a regular clothesline, and he just kept on running. And then I was a heel, yeah. And then all of a sudden I gave him this mean drop kick, and I kicked the shit out of him. I started beating the fuck out of him, just because I wanted to beat up a midget. And it was awesome. And then the finish was I pick him up, Hero comes in, and I go, here, have a midget. And then he catches him, and then he goes, no, you take him. We start throwing him around, and then all of a sudden I catch him again, and he drop kicks me, and I take the bump, and he won. And then Prazak runs in 1, 2, 3, and then everyone was really happy.
And then Hero hurt Prazak, didn't he?
Did he? I don't know.
Yeah, he did that weird move.
Oh yeah. He did some Hero.
There's another one of my favorite pictures. Looking back on it,
and this is a great picture.
This is smooth as hell.
Sums it up.
This is the one that's going to be in the magazines when when people are doing retrospective of Colt Cabana or CM Punk, they were friends for years, and and finally at WrestleMania 26, it all comes to a head, blah blah blah.
Yeah, right. At Sweet Science 16, 2019.
You have your dreams, I have mine.
Okay.
The date on this one's 10/27/01, so it was a day after my birthday 4 years ago. That is a money picture.
That's right.
You're Marty Jannetty, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Paul Diner?
Wow.
No.
I got no more good pictures.
You out of pictures?
Nah, well, pretty much. I mean, you really want to explain Mixelplick.
What other? What about Virgil at the card show?
What about Virgil every time I see Virgil? I recently just saw Virgil at the Philadelphia Wizard World Comic Con. Every time I see Virgil, ow, hurt my elbow. It's always about, hey, Punk, how you doing? I'm good, Verd. Yeah, that's good. I'm doing real good. I'm making lots of money, man. I'm making lots of money, man. You staying busy? Yeah, I'm fairly busy. Yeah, it's good, man. I'm wrestling all over the place, And I never hear Virgil wrestling anywhere. And I like Virgil. He's a nice guy. But, he's, the epitome of, Carney to me.
Which is excellent, by the way.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. He's a mover. He's a shaker. He's doing this. He's doing this. He works for this guy. He works over here. And he's probably an example of somebody who made a shitload of money back in the day and probably doesn't have a dime to show for it because he shows up at every single baseball card. He's always got the biggest banner that says WWF star Virgil. He'll bring a little TV and he'll constantly show his match with $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase on it, and you ever work Japan? Yeah, I work Japan. Who you work for? I work for 01. I never heard of that, man. If you want to make money in Japan, you gotta work for Inoki. And the great thing about Virgil is, if the camera was, me, he's never looking me in the eye. Virgil's always looking for somebody cooler to talk to or something better to do. He's like, oh yeah, man, yeah, you want to make money, you gotta go work for Inoki, man. Make $1 million working for Inoki. And he just wants to get out of the conversation, but he's the one who started it with me. So whatever, And I saw Virgil at the what was it? Oh man, I can't even remember what the name of the convention was called. The horror convention that's in New Jersey.
Horror convention.
Fuck.
Convention.
ChillerCon. And I went to ChillerCon and the boss was there. Raven was there. Come on by, kid. Come on by. I'm signing autographs. Yeah, you check me out. You know, come say hi. So it's Raven, Virgil, Lollipop was there. I think that's probably why I went.
Great.
We're just friends.
Yeah.
We're just pals.
High fives.
High fives. And what's her name? Missy Hyatt. So I'm talking to Pop, and Franny was there, Francine. So Francine's all happy to see me, and I'm talking
to you and I.
Franny to me, I don't know. We're just friends. And I'm talking to Franny and I'm talking to Pop, and Missy Hyatt's eating food, and she gets done with it, and she goes, can you go throw this out for me? And I turned and I looked at her, and I was like, absolutely not. And I turned around and I kept talking to Franny, and Missy Hyatt starts in on me like, who the fuck do you think you are? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? And like I started getting all hot, and Raven's all like, kid, you know, you should show some respect, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, respect for what? You know, and like, so later on she was like, I didn't know you were in the business, you know.
And that's how you treat people.
Yeah, and I was like, but that's how you treat people? You just randomly, hey, go throw out my garbage?
Anybody not in the wrestling business.
You can fucking throw out your own garbage. And she started healing. She tried to, like, since I was fighting with her, she tried to somehow turn it around on Pop and yell at Pop and just say all this crazy stuff about how I was the first diva, and if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be in this business, and blah, blah, blah. And Lollipop's all like, well, you're just a rat. And I'm thinking, well, you fucking showed your tits on TNA, you know, like, I had, you know, I was in the middle, you know. So yeah, like I remember Pop had to stay in her room, so I was like, absolutely not, you're not staying here. And Missy Hyatt's room was so creepy. She had Post-it notes everywhere. There's one on the TV, there's two on the mirror, there's one on the door, there's one on the bathroom mirror. Everywhere you went, it was like, I'm serious. No, serious. It was like, because there was like a marathon in New York the next day, so it was always like, remember marathon. There's a marathon, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, there's one on the pillow, there was one everywhere. I think I was wearing a hat when I walked in the room. And she's like, oh my God, take your hat off, take your hat off. You can't wear your hat when you're in my room. And I'm like, you can suck 16 dicks, but I can't wear a fucking hat in your hotel room.
Good Lord.
Whatever.
I'm just the guy.
I don't know.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, I don't really know Missy Hyatt, but, you know, I don't think I would get along with her. What else we got, Banna?
Wow, that's a good one. So where else did we go? The question guy.
Me and Cabana were told to sit in front of this camera and just talk, so that's what you're getting. We have no questions.
Yeah.
Does anybody in the room have any questions?
Anybody? So Minnesota? How about one of my favorite stories, and I guess it's hard to present, is like again we were young and Pierce, and we're in the car, and the big thing is to water bomb people, and we got the water. Everyone's squeezed water bottles, and once Brad was back there, and I think I fucking army crawled to the back and just gooshed the fuck out of him like a whole half of water.
It was freezing cold out too. I remember this is like the height of Brad's weird thyroid disease, and it's freezing cold out. And we forced Brad to ride all the way in the back because we were like, you can't sleep, but I'm tired. You can't sleep, I'm tired. Fine, then you got to sit with the luggage. So Brad's in the very back, that little space of the van with luggage, and he's laying on the luggage, and he somehow passes out, man. He's asleep.
He's sleeping.
Yeah, and it's like below zero outside. We're traveling through Wisconsin and Minnesota and stuff like that. So like we're like, don't sleep, and he falls asleep. So we water bomb him, and like he gives the exact opposite response that's appropriate. Like he freaks out, and throws a fit, and starts bitching about it. Like if he laughed it off, like he just didn't know how to handle himself. Fucking assholes! Oh, I'm an asshole. He's the one who water bombed you. Why are you calling me an asshole? Have some water, And then like I water bombed him, then Pierce water bombed him, then Ace water bombed him. Brad is soaking wet in freezing below temperatures, riding in the back of the van, clacking. He's so skinny, he's like just shivering, and we water bombed him for 7 hours straight. That's he probably could have died, realistically, with this thyroid problem and the hypothermia we were attempting to. Oh, I'm sure that's attempted murder in some countries. I'm sure.
And then we're going to another time, and I have my dad's van. We stop in Walmart, and I'm driving, and we come up with me and Pierce come up with this concoction, and all of a sudden I ride up to the guy and I ride up to the guy and go, excuse me, sir.
Like you're gonna stop and ask for directions.
Yeah, do you know where I can buy some chaps? And chaps to me are just hilarious and awesome.
It's a funny word.
Yeah, it's a good word, chaps. And it's like, oh no. And then Pierce pops out from the fucking top of the sunroof with like an extra big, and douches this guy in fucking water, drenched. And we don't scoot out right away. Like we stand, we just look at him, make eye contact, and he goes. Like for a good 5-10 seconds, and then we split out, and like that summed up just the fucking with people. Ace would always get out of the car, and what would he have, the fucking weird sunglass or the weird glasses with the googly eyes? He would just get out of the car and start fucking knocking on people's windows. I can't.
Excuse me. You know, ask for directions and.
Yeah, and
do you know where Nutsick Road is? Nutsick Road. Can you spell it for me? Of course I can spell it for you. That's N-U-T. You know.
And we would go to Pierce's fairs, go to Arby's and steal the Arby's signs and just fuck with everybody we could. And that's like, and honestly, you know, I don't remember how I was. Like I remember how I was, but just because of that, I think at least myself became better workers as we became outspoken people, and we had like, you know, instead of sitting in a car like fucking a bunch of librarians, not librarians, librarians, we fucking, you know, we all of a sudden because of Ace and Danny and Adam being so outrageous and courageous, is all of a sudden then we started getting into the fun, and not that we weren't before, but now we had the right to do it, and then now we were outspoken people. All of a sudden, you know, now we're cutting promos on people in the middle of Walmart, where the first promo I was telling the other day is like, you know, Mick Karch, the AWA announcer, was like in St. Paul, he's like, cut a promo, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
Colt Cabana.
It's a big secret of cutting promos. You just cut them on random people.
Yeah, and so I was all scared, and I see Pierce going crazy, and then all of a sudden we have all these trips, and all of a sudden we're cutting promos, and everybody, you know, some chick walks in, hey, we'll start Razzmatazz cutting a promo, and you know, honestly, that's where Colt Cabana came from, but it's just that, fuck it, you know, the same guy walking down the street is the same guy in the fucking audience, is the same guy across the ring from me, is that I'm having a good time, and I'm, you know, and I can, you know, talk off, you know, I've been dropped in my head so many times, is you know, and this is like king promo over here. I don't cut a fucking good promo. I don't know big words.
Thank you.
But what?
Thank you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know these big articulate words that you seem to come up with.
King promo.
But fucking hell, you know, I'll fucking go off on somebody just because it's natural to me, and it's not the, you know, it's not the smartest thing, but you know, I call somebody a douchebag or a duty head, people laugh, and all of a sudden I can cut a good promo but I'm going off on someone just like I would anybody else. And that all kind of came from those Minnesota trips, and we did them for 2-3 years, right? 2-3 years every weekend at a point. So and then eventually that stopped. There was like heat. What was
The Danny and Ace thing, I don't even know. Danny and Ace had a falling out with Ed Hellier.
Well, I think it was Dominion mainly.
They changed the name to Steel Domain Wrestling.
2 minutes.
2 minutes left for what?
For the second tape.
Ooh. Danny Dominion and Ed Hellier had a falling out. They just had a falling out about like advertising. Like there's a question like where the money was going, and Danny and Ace stopped working there. But me and Cabana like would do like we did like one more match, and we basically did what we want. And Ed Hellier's, I remember last words to me were like, "You'll never work in St. Paul again." And I was all like, "Yeah, I'll see you later." Like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
But and that was that.
Change that tape, sucker.
Milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
Dude, show the picture of you, the training. It's random.
Are we filming?
Yeah, we're filming. I don't know, is it your first day of training?
Oh, this is me, young Colt Cabana, 18 years old, and I got all the chops. That was like chop class, you know, second week. I came home, took a picture of that.
Because he was all proud of his battle scars. Hardcore. Woo! I think the best stories, probably, I think a lot of the stuff we talked about might not be interesting to some people, but it could be. I don't know, I hope it is. I hope people are entertained, but I think the best stories to me are like how we live live on, like a completely different clock than the rest of the world. Like I always tell people I used to be a scientist. I was a lab tech at Underwriters Laboratory. I safety tested products for you, the public. It was the most ridiculous job ever that I wasn't supposed to have, because I was supposed to have some kind of a degree, which I didn't have. When they asked me, I just told them I had one. Like that, and like to me, like that's what the wrestling business has taught me, that like
because we've gotten into the wrestling.
Everything is like a big work, you question everything, and it's really taught me like what I can and cannot get. It's almost like we're con men. Like I walked into this Underwriters Laboratory, like this real stuffy place, and I got this job that I wasn't supposed to. I needed a 4-year degree to be a lab tech. And I walked in and I was just like, yeah, I'm a lab tech, blah, 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 blah. And I, like my dad's an electrician, so like I bullshitted the stuff I knew. And, they gave me a job. And I never treated it as anything but second to wrestling. And like probably for me it was like wrestling, my girlfriend Nate at the time, and then this job. And I had to wake up at 5 in the morning and go to this fucking job, and it was just like I hated it. And we had flex hours where like if you worked your full 40 hours, you could split at 11 on Fridays, and you're supposed to do this once a month. I did it every single week. If I had to be
because you had to be there, you did 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Sucked.
So like I would do, I would have to do like 10 hours, 10 hours, 10 hours, 10 hours, and then like Friday I would come in at 6 and just basically fuck off till like 11, and then punch out, and then meet with him because it was like right down the street from his parents' house, and then we'd go to like IWA, and to me, like what I'll always remember about wrestling and everything is about how I would sleep under my desk at work, or about how like I would come in, like punch in, and then fucking leave, like go to this bagel place that like your parents were cool with the people who owned it, and like just sitting there, and like I didn't give a damn about work, and I knew how to work the people who I worked with pretty much because of wrestling.
Everybody could get worked.
Sure.
Everyone can get worked.
I've been worked, and it's just like, I just think it's hilarious that I had this job that probably people would kill for.
Right.
Like legit, like this real respectable job. I was a lab tech, and I wore the same work shirt every day. I would leave it at work, and like it was like the biggest blow-off thing ever. I slept more than I worked there. And I made real good money.
It was important that you had to sleep, because you had to get to sleep because we had to do road.
Because I had to make $30.
We had to do road.
Yeah, like on Saturday, when like if I devoted my time and my energy to this job, like by now I would be making like some ungodly amount of money, but it's not what I loved. I hated it. It was just someplace it was just school all over again.
What's Tracy Smothers' quote, right? It's
I have to work to support my wrestling habit. And I feel real lucky that I was able to, after I got fired. I know, shocking that I got laid off. But let's be honest, dude. I was asleep at my computer.
Right.
I was like a flamingo where I could just sleep standing up. Like I was at my desk and I had it like perfectly, so like if anybody like came, I would hear them, and I would just sit there like this with the pencil in my hand. And I heard somebody come in, so I would just start fake writing. And I looked up, and it was my section head, and I looked at him, and I looked down, and like I saw like this big scribble line, and I'm not writing anything, and he looks down at the paper, and I looked back up at him, and I went, "I'm fired, aren't I?" And he was like, "Well, we need to talk." And I was like, awesome. I got like so stoked, and I was like, can I just grab my stuff? Because they were like uber corporate, and they wanted, like, every time they would lay somebody off, they would literally grab them and send them out the door and send you your things, because they were really afraid everyone's gonna like pull out a gat and like, go nuts. And he was like, quick, go grab a box and grab all your stuff. And I didn't have a whole lot of stuff anyway. I literally just like grabbed all my stuff and I skipped out the door, like I was super happy, and there's like the line of people like, bye, and I was like, yeah, see you later, and like from that point on, like I remember getting laid off, and I remember not knowing what to do because it was 9 a.m, and I drove to Once Upon a Bagel. I had myself some pancakes, and like I drove home and I walked in the door, and Ace was all like, what are you doing home? Did you get fired? you better be able to pay rent. And I was like, it's all under control, dude. Like,
That's why.
let's go to the gym, you know? Like,
But you were fucking collecting unemployment.
yeah.
And that was, to me, was the greatest thing ever.
No, to me, it was the greatest thing ever.
Obviously, but now he was getting paid because you hated it so much, but you had to do it. But now you're grabbing the paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had to do it to eat. I wasn't proud, but let's face it. Like, I grew up with my dad on unemployment. You know, I was poor my entire life. So, like, when it finally came time to, well, I was even lazy about it. It took me a month to file for it.
Yeah.
So, you know, but once I finally got it, it was like I would get that check, and then it was like, let's go buck wild, and I'm going to make a living being a pro wrestler. And if I don't make it by the time my unemployment runs up, then I don't know what I'll do. I'll work at Blockbuster Video, you know, something. But, you know, that's
I
when
think you wanted Ace. You were like, well, maybe Ace will hook me up with a job at Nielsen.
Something.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that was like last resort.
Right,
you know, I just remember working at Underwriters, fracturing my skull, and not being at work for like a month. You know, and like them having to pay me for that,
Yep,
and like
yeah.
just working the system so much, and like using vacation days that I didn't have, and like just owning that place. And it was always about just hanging out with you and like going to shows for like $10-30 and just all the sacrifice. And like I blew off that job. I destroyed my relationship with Nate. Like I just, you know, like all these people around me that, like, you know, let's face it, you know, wrestling was number one. It always was, and it always will be. And just, you know, like nothing else fucking mattered. And to me, like that is the one huge bond between me and you.
Yep.
You know,
Same
like
thing goes is I went to Western Michigan, got a degree.
it was a joke though. Like
I got a bachelor's in marketing degree. My mom was going, you know, you get a job, you get a job, you get a job. And me being able with a fucking degree, you know, as you saying, you know, with again, I could have went out of college, started making $50,000,
Right.
whatever, and I took a job as a teaching assistant. And the same thing, I would hook up so where, like, I was working at special ed, and I would get 8th and 9th periods. Like, I was back to school, which was kind of miserable, but I'd get like 8th and 9th off, and I would go sleep in the gym office, and it's the same thing. And I would take sick days off, but I let my, you know, because I wasn't a teacher, I was a teaching assistant, so I think I made $11,000 after taxes. I made about $7,000 as a teaching in a really good
a year?
district. Yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
That's awful.
It was horrible.
That's awful.
But it gave me benefits, and that was the thing. And then, you know, I had the wrestling on the side, and I was making that, and just always with the wrestling, but not only that, is where you counting the system is I would use the colored printer, I would use the copier, I would use construction paper to make gimmicks, to make anything. I remember that's when I was like, you know, like the Macho Man CDs, where I would take their CDs and I would burn them at work, and then I would take their cover cases from music classes that they had. And this isn't, you know, I guess it's not too proud of me, but this is the way I work, and this is the same thing where you and Joe were talking about the lucha masks. Is do anything, man. Fuck it, you know.
Money's money.
Right, and I would make copies of the Macho Man CDs on the copy machine and put them in, and, you know, sell them for $3 at a show or whatever. Anyway, I would make 8x10s with the construction paper they had at art class. When I would take my kids to art class and then use the color copier, and I would start making, you know, black and white 8x10s or whatever you can do to make a buck. And, you know, and honest to God, and I love it. And I always treat the children well, and I love working with the children. But it was like they knew, and I knew that, you know, I was doing this to do wrestling.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sometimes I guess I would slack or whatever. I would just have stuff going on because, you know, we had the wrestling business to fill. We had those weekends to go on, and we still do, and that's what it, you know. But unfortunately, we can make a living on wrestling now. But you know, it's you get those jobs, and, you know, I could be a wizard in the marketing, you know, field right now, and maybe I am in selling gimmicks, but
You are.
but we're not, you know, we're wrestlers.
Because it always comes down to wrestling, and that's so, in a way, like, this is how I'm gonna wrap this up. It comes down to, like, me and his friendship, you know, where it was like I put everything behind wrestling, you know. But for me, it was like always wrestling, but he was always there. So it's like he's one of the guys. There's very few, and count them on one hand, of the people in the world that I know that it could be like 4 in the morning, it could be pouring rain outside, and I could be like in Detroit and call him in Chicago, and he'll come pick me up. You know what I'm saying? It was like, because inadvertently we both put wrestling first, and in a way, it was like we were just there for each other, you know. And I think it's probably why Nate always got so pissed, is because like I spent more time with you, you know. She probably thought we were a couple of gays. You know, and I was always there way more for you than like, you know, I was ever there for her, and like that's what it boils down to. It's just like that's how we became friends. It's, you know, I just can't imagine, you know, like we watched Danny and Ace kind of like drift apart, and I just don't ever see that happening with me and you. Like, you know,
we've had bumps in the road, but it's
sure.
Like, I think we realize that.
Well, we were married to each other for so long, like literally wrestling each other so many times, and then, you know, you have little spats and stuff like that, but we eventually worked it all out, you know.
And that's why you guys see it. You see the chemistry on the, and you know, like why he's a funny guy, or he's straight edge, but you know, it's we fucking grew up in wrestling together, and we're gonna, you know, keep on going and wrestling together or whatever, and it's the chemistry's there, and it's you know, the two Chicago boys.
It's total real life, you know, like this is exactly how we are in real life, you know. Like I'm obviously a little bit more serious, but I got the funny side, you know, and I play up the serious part. He plays up the yucks and all that stuff, and like
fart jokes, right? My life's a fart joke.
Did I say that?
I heard pathetic jokes.
That sounds so demeaning.
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, that's that. Yeah, and you know, if I can get by on a fart joke, rock and roll, right?
There you go. So, if he can get by on a fart joke, rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, and I appreciate it, and we'll have more releases coming out soon.
Hey.